Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oui. Oh, doutor. Oui, desculpa ali. Deixa eu te falar que eu tô aqui distraído, tá a ver o mambo. Sorry. Tô, yeah, tô só a set up o mambo para começar já já. Mr. Okello.
Yes, sir.
Good. Well, I'm gonna put in Morato Custodio,
Okay.
so
Okay.
so that you guys can chat before we start.
For sure. For sure.
Morato, I don't know if you can hear me. Yeah.
Great.
Mr. Custodio, how are you today?
Fine, thanks. And you?
I'm doing well, thank you. This guy is Okello, Robert, so you guys can chat before we start and get acquainted.
Hi, Morato. Do you go
Yeah.
by Morato? Do you go by Morato or Custodio? How do you say that? Custodio? Is that right?
It depends. If you want
Okay.
to, if you want to have a very nice accent, you say Morato. But if you if you want to have that African accent, you can call me Morato. It's
Morato. I like the Morato.
But be careful, you sound like a Latino, like with
Do I?
R. Be careful not to sound like a Latino.
yeah, but I go by Morato. Yeah.
Okay, Morato. Wonderful, wonderful.
Good. How's life in Angola right now? I saw that you guys have 200 plus cases right now.
Yeah, the cases are rising because they are conducting more testing.
Okay.
Of course, more testing.
Right.
According to Trump, stop testing people. Come on. If you stop testing people, the cases will go down. I just love that guy. Yes, sir.
I have a quick one.
Okay.
I'm a chain smoker, and I would like to know if there is a problem if I smoke during the live because of your audience.
Will you be smoking while you speak?
Mostly when I'm listening to someone else.
No, I don't. Would you mind, Rob?
I mean, I'm okay, you know. I mean, I don't know how many other people we have. There might be some people might be concerned about that. I think it's a very broad audience, but I don't know if like you just turn off your video or something, you know. That's
yeah.
Because you know,
I put you guys as
yeah.
I put you guys as a co-host, so you guys have the control to manage. Right. We will have some people participating, but they will not do it until you guys finish and we open for question and answer. Cool. We decided to make this a meeting, not a webinar, so that you guys can connect afterwards. That's why you will have people interacting with you guys as soon as you guys finish. But be free to say whatever you want to say, as long as just be mindful, but that this one is being recorded and broadcasted as well on YouTube. So if you wanna go Vusi, go Vusi. I love that guy. I just love him. He woke up mad.
Listen, we just need to, as a young African entrepreneur, we just need to cultivate the culture of speaking our minds, because that time where the speech is suppressed is long gone. We need to speak up and raise our voices. And Vusi is a very, very powerful black man in South Africa.
Yeah.
Listen, it was heard. It was
yes.
People listened.
He is on all the TV channels right now about the video he made and the tweet that he tweeted last night. It's like, okay, I guess. And people are tweeting Vusi hashtag for president. It's like, okay. It's like, oh, okay. But I love what he said. We don't have to be president. We don't have to be politically involved. We have to talk about politics, but we don't have to be politically involved to make a change. Goes along with the tweet that Morato tweeted this morning. It's impossible talking about change in Africa if you don't talk about politics. It's impossible.
Listen, we need to get a seat at the table. We need to be part of the discussion. and we must be able to drive change. And this is a speech that I've consistently listened to, which is, I don't get involved into politics. Listen, maybe that's the most powerful science in the world, because politics will drive everything downwards. It will drive everything. So if you want to drive economic change, inclusion in any area, you need to be able to influence politics. Otherwise, we're going to have another 45 years of bad and poor management from the top, and we will never be part of the solution if we don't get involved.
Yeah, but there's a misconception about being involved with politics.
Right.
Do you both think that to be involved you have to have a seat at the table? I know the context of that, but you have to really be a politician to be part of the solution when it comes to that. What do you guys think?
Robert, I will let you go first.
I mean, I think the different ways of engaging with politics, right? Now, there are those who are best suited, being on the table means, taking a political office, right? But I think another way of being involved is actively engaging in a political discourse, So think about, you can be at the table as a politician, right? Or you can be, at the table as someone who is actively engaged, with the political process, the way you use your position of influence, to really, drive some of the changes you want to see, So a classic example, again, think of someone like Busi, right? Or think of someone like Aliko Dangote, he's best suited to drive whatever kind of political change as a businessman, When Aliko Dangote gets to drive something, any president will listen to him. He has a seat at the table as an entrepreneur, as a business person. So I think that it's not really a one-size-fits-all. I have to be in active politics as a politician, but I think you can be actively engaged in the political process, as an entrepreneur or whichever profession you are in, and really be able to influence the political discourse.
Before you go, Morato, let me just introduce you guys to Luntadila. He is the other guy who's going to facilitate Morato and Robert. Luntadila, he's the other guy who's going to facilitate the conversation between you three and those who are participating. Adam is already in. I think he's fixing his audio. So yeah, just chat before we start. What do you think, Morato?
Going back to that contextual identity, okay? So if we look at our context in Africa, doesn't matter how powerful you are, doesn't matter how much money you have. Okay, first of all, let me go back to say that most people that have access to money on a business perspective are somewhat connected to political power, okay, because of corruption. This is very common in Africa, okay? So this is the first thing. Second thing is, if you try to drive things from the outside, your chances of success, it's very small, because Africa, most of African countries, they are not fully democratic. Do you understand? You have, like in Angola, you have one president who is the chief of the executive that controls the party, that controls the government, from ministers to I don't know how you say soba in English, but
mayor, maybe close to the mayor, to the
like
chief.
Traditional authorities.
Yeah, traditional authority. They all belong to the ruling party. So when I say having a seat at the table, let me just say that is this live already? No.
No, well, it's on YouTube. Yeah, that's what I told you.
No, I don't care. I think having a seat at the table means we need to be able to implement politics, because politics is as good as people involved in those politics. And and you need to understand that we as an African continent, as a traditional African society, we are divided in tribes. So one person will fetch another person from his tribe to be close to him. So if you have a bad politician on top, the chances are very, very high that he will bring some other people that are as corrupt as him because they belong to the same tribe. We need to change that. We need people like Armando, like Robert, like Adam, like Luntadila, like myself that come from the outside. Some of us have been in very, very difficult situations. So we know the reality of our country, of our continent. So we need to bring our perspective into politics. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for us to change. Even if we have a lot of money, if we don't engage in corruption, we don't have that much say in Africa. So that's my point of view is that as a young African entrepreneur, we need to get ourselves into politics because we then can change the politics into what we believe to be the right path for Africa in the future.
Okay. Okay. Well, guys, talk amongst you. Luntadila, those are the three guys. They're already in. The reason why I decided to put you guys before everybody else so that you guys can get acquainted, and it's not enough time to get to know, but at least you guys will have idea how this will go. You guys can refer to each other as the first name or whatever name. The first question I'm going to ask is, do you guys have a preferred way to be called? Doctor, engineer, whatever. I don't. How do you guys prefer? For me and Luntadila.
I think Adam is fine for me.
Adam is fine for you, okay? Morato?
Yes, Adam is great.
Yeah, just Morato.
Bob?
Yeah.
Bob would work, right?
Yeah. I give options. You can call me Bob, Robert, whichever. Okello. You just can't go wrong.
I'll go Okello. It sounds African to me. Luntadila, do you want to say anything before we let people in?
Well, I'm really excited to hear what you guys have to share with the rest of the world, and especially I'm interested to learn about what you guys doing, your platforms, your ideas, and your visions about technological development in Africa. So please enlighten us. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, that's good. What I will do is at the end, it will be up to you guys' time because I don't want to take much of your time after we finish. We decided to create a breakout room where because we are creating this for the platform that we have, African entrepreneurs here at Texas State University. If you guys have a chance, 5 to 10 minutes after we finish, you guys can network with those specific entrepreneurs who are working, for example, with fintech. I know that Morato is into fintech. Bob is into education. Adam is into health and engineering. But you guys have different ways. But if by any chance you guys want to connect on a one-to-one basis, we can create a breakout room where you guys will interact on a one-to-one basis with those particular individuals. Just to give tips, share, because this one will not be enough time for you guys to say as much as you guys would love to say. So there's a breakout room just in case. And I'll ask people to raise and tell if they want to connect with Morato, for example, or Bob, so that they can go to a specific space through Zoom.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
Adam, can you remind me a little bit? Can you tell me a little bit about what you working on, like the focus of your technological implementation?
Yeah, so most of my work, I work on, my work is very general. I lead a small technology company in Congo.
Mm-hmm.
And what we work on like multiple different type of technologies. So basically the customer will come to us with certain design specifications, and we create a technology for them. So we come up with a completely new thing that's nobody has made before, like most of the times. But so Apart from that, we work on, like right now, we're making mechanical ventilators because, I mean, it's a COVID-19 season, so we need those there. We are working on other technologies that I'm also gonna, because I prepared like a short PowerPoint presentation, kind of just gonna give some light on the type of technologies that we make and our services and some type of the stuff that we have been working on during the past couple months, I can say. But yeah, most like in the big picture, we are we're open industry company. We do engineering consulting and we do new product development. So we basically open to anything that's in anybody's mind. So it's basically like what I tell my engineers all the time is that everyone needs to live their dreams. We are not just living my dream.
Yeah.
So if your dream was to make like whatever, if it's basically commercially sound, and we can make money out of it, let's go and make it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm excited to hear more about that soon. Robert, you are in education, right? Technological education, and Morato is in fintech.
Yeah.
Awesome. So thank you guys so much. I think this is gonna be a kick. I'm excited.
Just a quick question. Armando, are you recording this?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
And I'll send it to you guys if you guys need. Oh.
Yeah, that would be great.
For sure, you guys will need it. I know that you guys will need it.
Like you said you had a live like on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, yes.
Adam,
it's on YouTube.
You're already live on YouTube talking.
Can we have a link?
Yes, I'll send you the link right now.
Oh, actually, never mind. I think I can just I can open it up from my laptop here.
Okay. So be Vusi today. Come on. I want to see Vusi today. He's popping on South African news right now because I don't know. I don't want to say much. Just wait for Vusi.
I'll be both today. Don't worry.
Adam, the question that I posed to Bob and Morato, is it possible to be involved into politics in Africa without being a politician?
That's gonna depend on how you define politics, because according to me, all of us are actually involved with politics. So you cannot really go on a day-to-day basis. It's we always say in French that if you don't take care of politics, politics will take care of you, basically.
Yeah.
You know, and that becomes really important when it comes to in this question that you just asked, that all of us, everyone is involved in politics somehow. However, it depends now on the level of involvement you want to have in the actual politics. You will see some people would actually be actively politicians, like day-to-day basis, that their full-time jobs. But some people are involved with politics with actually making the government accountable for their actions, and those are activists. And I mean, personally, I would like, if I see something wrong in the government, I would just be vocal all over it. And it's kind of help raise awareness and stuff like that. But as to being involved in politics directly, I think it is possible for the youth to be involved into politics. However, there are so many blocks, like you can literally, like people become stumbling blocks for others. In that it's a very dangerous field, actually. I mean, I have a lot of family members that are politicians in Congo, and for them to make it there, actually, because like my dad is already involved into that, and then somebody else also, like an uncle or something like that. I think that's the best way to get. But a self-created politician in Congo, unless you started off like right now, unless you started off of social media and made yourself a name from the social media into politics, which is happening with a lot of young people right now who are in Congress in Congo, you can't really get involved into politics, like become a politician. But you can be involved in politics if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Before we we have 2 minutes. Luntadila, what do you think before we start? We have 2 minutes. So
I mean, I just got a very tiny bit of Morato's intervention, and now Adam. I share to a certain degree what they see as whether or not people or young people like us can be involved in politics. So understanding the dimensions of political involvement and political action, I think it's very important, as Adam highlighted. The other thing to add on that is to understand the idea that politics is something that people do every single day, regardless. Whether or not you see yourself as participating in the political process, you are indirectly or directly participating. Now, what actually determines our effect in politics is how much we can influence others to buy into our political ideas and affiliations. So I think African youth need to get to a place where their ideas are bought by the majority, not necessarily, become politician in a way, because politics is a game of power and influence. If you can influence your country, you can shape the political life. So it's gonna take time. The people in politics today, they've been doing this for more than 20, 30 years. Some of them longer than we've been alive. So, today we're talking about this, and in 10 years, one of few people in this group chat will be leading our countries, will be making political action decisions, strategies. So we just need to take it step by step.
okay, well, see, that's why I decided to put you guys before everybody else. We are on time here in the Trump's country. We say time is money. So let's start. I'm gonna admit everybody in and give some guidelines before we start.
Armando, are you there? It seems like Armando is frozen out.
I think the internet in Africa is better than in United States.
I'm sure some parts are. I do not doubt that. It's true.
It is true.
As funny as it sounds, there are parts in the US where they still use 3G, and their internet is very slow. If you're not like in a campus area, or you can afford quite expensive internet, if you're in a rural United States, your internet is gonna be slow. It's not gonna be 4G more likely. And if it is, it's expensive for you. I don't know where you guys are, but in general, that has been my experience.
Yeah, I think we should wait like maybe a couple of minutes before we start, because people are just keep on joining.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mr. Mwalumene, All right.
For some weird reason, I just got disconnected. I think someone from Trump's staff is messing with me. I don't know what I did. As someone might say, I don't get involved with politics. I don't know why. I'm sorry for that, guys. I'm sorry for that. Okay, as I was saying, this event is being brought to you by the Ideas Lab. Ideas Lab is a chapter from Texas State University Innovation Hub at Research Park. It's responsible for coordinating and organizing events for African diaspora, and especially for African entrepreneurs. I coordinate the chapter. What we do is we organize an event in which we bring Africans who are providing solution when it comes to startups and technology for Africa to help them contextualize their ideas to African market. And as a result of that, we bring you guys. You guys are the ones who are making the impact and changing the ecosystem when it comes to solution, to tell us what you guys are doing and help us coordinate, help us organize and guide those who are doing something here in the state. When you are outside of the continent, your vision is somewhat clouded by Silicon Valley ideas of doing stuff, which is great. However, any solution, if you do not contextualize, there is no effect on that. If you don't see the market, the ecosystem, the place that you are providing those solutions. So you guys will help us to do that. At the end of this event, we will create a breakout room. If by any chance you want to connect with Bob Robert, with Marifasasa, and understanding what he is doing on a one-to-one basis, you can do it by going on the breakout room. Just raise your hand, just tell us on the chat, I want to connect with Bob. We'll make that happen. If you want to connect with Adam, do it. If you want to connect with Morato, do it. If you want to connect with Luntadila is the other guy who's going to help us facilitate this event. The event as well is being broadcasted on YouTube. The link is right there on the chat. You guys can have that and share with as many people as you guys would like. This is the Idea Fair. The Idea Fair is a part of what we do. We connect Angolans studying here in the USA, Oklahoma, and Texas, to help them be in the market as a product in which the value is determined by how exposed they are and the quality. And if you want to get involved with entrepreneurship ways through Texas Tech Hub, that you can do it. Also, we do have what we do, which is part of the Ideas Lab, but we connect with not just Africa, the Sub-Sahara, but also the north part of Africa. So the idea is to bring Africa into just this one place where we can discuss solution, we can discuss problem, and then provide solutions as well. So this event, as I told you guys, it's about sustainable technological solution for Africa. We'll have Bob Okello. He's the CEO of Marifasasa in Uganda. It's technological platform that helps those who can afford to have access to what they need to maximize their experience in school. And Bob is gonna give us more details in regards to that. I'll just make a quick intro about Bob for you guys to have an idea of who Bob is and the work that he does here at Texas State University. And then we have Adam as well, Adam Shibindu. I don't know if I'm pronouncing correctly your name,
Yeah, you did it right. You got it right.
Okay, that's good. Sorry, forgive me for that. With Bora Technology, he is a alumni. For those who are from Texas State University, he's our son and our brother. He's an alumni from Texas State University. Yes, go Raiders.
Yeah, guns up.
So he's gonna share with us as well the work he's been doing with Bora technology. And we have Morato from Angola. Morato, he identified himself as a business developer. For me, he's a maker of all the trades. I'll describe him like that. But he's been doing a great work when it comes to financial inclusion. First, by talking and by providing solutions that will help everybody be included financially in Angola specifically. But he's gonna give us more details with that. The guy who's gonna help me moderate and facilitate this, his name is Luntadila. Luntadila, introduce yourself, and we'll start whenever you finish.
Excellent. So to Armando and I have been friends for several years now. We lived together in Champaign when we came for school in the US at the first time. And he's been a great guy. And has pivoted a lot of initiative in his time, both in Champaign, representing Angola. I remember the career with the English intensive program. That was really great. We were there representing our nation, and now to Parkland, and then to moving to Texas. So it's great to see what you're doing. And again, thank you for the invitation to co-host and moderate with you in this event. My name is Luntadila. I'm Luntadila Paulo. Some people call me Cesar, like Armando. Other people call me Paulo because it's too hard for them to pronounce Luntadila. I have a degree in accounting from Michigan State. Now I'm finishing my MBA at Eastern Illinois University. I do a lot of research and studies around sub-Saharan African market, especially the financial sectors. I do some consulting work with startups across Africa, help them move their ideas forward, study the financial implications, the due diligence around them. I study markets, industries, and I also try to help investors who want to enter the African market, studies the market and develop strategy for entry. So I'm excited to join this conversation and hear what you guys have to share. And if possible, help you think about critical question in terms of your ventures and ideas. So I'm excited for this.
Thank you. And for those who are participating, you can ask question through chat. You will not have time. You will not have a platform to speak right now because we'll give that to the three. But at the end, not at the end, throughout the program, we'll have a time for people to make an intervention or give a comment or ask a question directly through Zoom. So let's not go further and start. I will start with Robert Okello, CEO of Marifasasa. Please make an intro. You have 10 minutes to make your introduction and talk about what you guys have been doing with Marifasasa, how long and why do you decided to actually go into that?
Absolutely, absolutely. First of all, let me begin by thanking you, Amanda, for making this happen. It's always such a great moment whenever you see young people like you and I and all those who believe in Africa really coming together on topics like this to discuss solutions, particularly on issues that pertain to the African affair. So it is such a wonderful privilege, I must say, to join this conversation this afternoon here, in this part of the world. I know we have people joining us from all corners of the world right now. I know someone joining us from Australia, for example. So it's a very diverse audience right now, and it's so great to be a part of this conversation. So thank you, Amanda, for the vision and for making this happen, and for really bringing us together on such an important topic of discussion. Now, as I've been introduced, my name is Robert Bob Okello, and I'm from Uganda. So I hail from northern Uganda in particular, and I did all of my childhood. I grew up in Uganda really, and it's most of my schooling has been in Uganda, and then I was privileged enough to get several opportunities to go and study out of Uganda, and I'm speaking to you right now from Oklahoma, not very far away from Armando, who is in Texas. But that's where I am. And I did my university here at the University of Oklahoma, actually, and just graduated some time ago. And my focus of education was really on, when I joined university, I began off as a chemical engineer. And that did not really settle very well with me. And as I began exploring different aspects of things that really resonated with me and how I could best equip myself as an international student studying in another country, on how best I could be of impact on the African continent and to my country of Uganda in particular. So I ended up designing my own degree, and my focus was on what we call development engineering, which really is a field that fuses engineering, business and entrepreneurship, politics and policy making, and how all these fields interact with technology at its core to solve everyday problems, right? And so that is something I'm so passionate about, and how I could bring all these different fields together. And so that very much as well relates to what we do at Morato Custodio. But at the core of this, for me, it's always been about education and access to the opportunities that an education ushers one into. Nelson Mandela once said that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And we strongly believe that, at Morato Custodio, because when I look at my own journey as an individual and seeing how I have been able to come to where I am in life today, and the educational opportunities that I have gotten to really become who I am, and I think the function of education really, is to create, a complete and a whole person, right? But most importantly, an independent thinker. And that, is an opportunity that I think when achieved can really, as Mandela has said, help change the world. So at Morato Custodio, our vision really is to, democratize access to life-changing, and quality educational opportunities. So we leverage different technological innovations to that effect. Well, it means, leveraging the power of massively, massive open online courses, and such platforms to ensure that, learners across Uganda and across the continent, really, we like to think of ourselves as a Pan-African company. We think that the problem we're solving is not a uniquely Ugandan problem. It is an African problem that therefore demands an African solution, But the nature of technology allows that, a solution that works for a problem in one part of the country or one part of the world doesn't always necessarily work for another part of the world as a copy and paste model, right? So it's about understanding those unique contexts under which technology is applied, and that's where my background is really. From an educational and academic standpoint, how do we ensure that technological solutions that are being applied to solve whatever problems there is that we're trying to solve, is really built and tailored with the people that face those problems in mind, and that the process of designing that solution involves those people who face, those problems, So in a way, a human-centered approach to technological interventions, And so when it comes to education, we believe that if you think about different fields, fintech, for example, has seen a surge in technological interventions, and that, the term fintech in itself just points to that, financial technology and a lot of other sectors. But when it comes to the education industry, it seems that we have always been lagging behind as far as adoption of technology is concerned, as far as education, is concerned. So one thing that we have been really strongly focusing on is how do we begin to engage with educators and teachers and all those that are involved in the educational process. How do we engage with them in the process of beginning to adopt technology at a pace that really matches out with the other sectors, but most importantly, the needs and the challenges that we face today. How can we help teachers change the mindset or perhaps from the fear of technology, to really helping them become the masters of these tools and leveraging these tools to really deliver the best possible educational outcomes out there, But secondly, how do we leverage technology to ensure that, access to education is something that is not just for few, but, is for everybody, We at Marifa Sasa believe that education is not just a luxury for few people. It is a fundamental right, and everyone deserves access to that. So across Africa, we see millions of our children and our young people still do not have access to the sort of educational opportunities that they really need to become who they are meant to be, to unlock that hidden potential, and that is a problem that we are very passionately trying to pursue and really discover several solutions to at Marifa Sasa. And, we began working primarily focusing on, immersive and experiential learning, really hands-on learning. And to that effect, we began by working on virtual and augmented reality solutions to actually ensure that, we are creating access to this sort of immersive learning experiences that have for long not been possible within the traditional classroom context. However, when COVID-19 struck, because most of those interventions depended on the operations of schools and schools being open, So when schools closed down, that entire, service line also went down. And so we had to go back to the drawing board, as a company and really see what our focus would be, But with that, a major problem that came into effect was that a lot of schools did not know how to ensure that learning continued while schools were closed and the learners were at home. And to that effect, we began working on, an online learning solution. And today, we now have Shule Sasa. Now, Shule Sasa, comes in two forms. One, we have an academy and then an online platform. Shule Sasa is really a Swahili word for school right now. And it is an online learning management system that we have currently developed to, one, help schools and institutions and educators and edupreneurs ensure that, they can effectively, in the most easy way, manage communities of online learners and ensure that learning continues in this season when schools are closed and a lot of educators don't know how and what best technological tools to use to ensure that learning continues. And then, so there's a platform service, platform aspect to that, it's a platform as a service. And then the other aspect of that is a more, direct to consumer model, where we have developed the Shule Sasa Academy, which is an online primary and secondary school solution. Right now, our primary focus is on Uganda, and we are offering, courses all the way, from primary 1 all the way to senior 6. That's the, in Uganda, that's the last class in high school before joining university. And the goal here is to really ensure that, there is an easy way for schools to manage learning during the season, an easy way for teachers and educators to create content in a way that really fully engages the learner. And also, 3, a way that ensures that learners can effectively continue learning even in these unprecedented times where the lockdowns have tremendously caused major disruptions in the learning processes. So that is currently what our focus is. And, I would love to further engage with a lot of you to really learn more about this. But we believe that, technology can really be a wonderful tool in as far as ensuring accessibility, but also inclusion when it comes to education. Of course, there are several challenges we still face that present, barriers to access. Internet is a big issue. Access to devices like smartphones and laptops. For our learners to be able to easily access these online sources, especially on the African continent. But I believe that these are very exciting challenges that we have what it takes, collectively, as an African people. To find solutions that work uniquely within the context of our countries and our regions, to ensure that learning continues. And if education really is to be used as a force to, as a weapon to change the world, then I believe that we must ensure that no one is left behind, that no child is left behind. And so what we are doing, in Marifa Sasa, our small contribution is to ensure that we can continuously engage with the different stakeholders to ensure that learning continues even in this period of grave uncertainty. So that is briefly, about what we're doing at Marifa Sasa. Our goal is to expand beyond Uganda, and as I said at the beginning, we see ourselves primarily as a Pan-African company. And so, a conversation of this nature where I see, names and faces from people from all across the continent, that is something that, excites me a lot, but I consider it such a wonderful privilege and opportunity to be a part of such a conversation. So thank you all once again for really indulging me. And as I said, I'll be looking forward to answering any questions, and I look forward to this conversation and to learning a lot from all of you as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bob. We will now give a platform for Morato Custodio. All the questions will be after we'll let the three panelists discuss and provide to us what they've been working. This way it will be asked for us to ask a question that particularly affects them. Now, Morato Custodio, tell us what you do. If you want to tell us about your background before you go into the work that you've been doing.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. As Bob mentioned, it's a very, very good opportunity to be in contact with such people from across the continent, so we can share ideas and to identify opportunities for us to push things forward. So I really appreciate the invitation. So let me start by just make a quick correction. It's not Luigi as on the flyer. It's Luwei, L-W-E-I. And I'm here representing Bantu Makers, which is a startup studio, which I am the business developer. So I was born and grew up in a small town in interior. I'm not from the capital of Angola, Luanda. I'm from Kwanza Sul, which is another province. I came to Luanda when I was 16 because after the 8th grade, there was no option for me to study back home. So I need to move to the big city to carry on my studies. And I had the privilege of getting a college degree and 2 master's degree and the opportunity to work for multinational companies in my country, which gave me a platform to actually learn from the different countries in Africa. So I've joined Bantu Makers because I understood that being an entrepreneur, it's more than just having an idea and building a company. It's about collaboration. It's about brainstorming, and I found those 2 very intelligent people that welcomed me into this company where we have been working together. So I like to present myself as a financial inclusion advocate, and I've been working in fintech, but the scope of work that we do, it's broader than just financial inclusion itself. So I will give you a brief description of what I've been doing for the last few years. So in 2016, I quit my job. I was the Chief Operations Officer for MultiChoice Africa based in Angola. So I had a very, very good job. It was a well-paid job, but it was not, how can I say? It was not a fulfilled job. So I quit in 2016 and I went to in entrepreneurship in 2017 with a very, very clear objective in mind, which is learn about how we can include as much people as possible socially. And then I found out that when you talk about social inclusion, there is a lot of nuance that you need to put in perspective. So me and my colleagues, so we decided to tackle digital and financial inclusion as a way, as a platform to make social inclusion accessible to the majority of the people in my country. So I joined a few other people in 2017. So we built mobile phone factory called LPE. The goal was to build a mobile phone. I will share a screen with you guys. The goal was to build a mobile phone, which is a feature phone. It's accessible. It's not cheap, but it's accessible to the majority of the people that use a mobile phone in Angola, but also gives you access to digital platform. And because of education is an issue, we placed shortcuts on the keyboard for WhatsApp and Facebook with W and F, just to facilitate accessibility to most people. And then I joined a telco, IP World, and along with a very, very good startup in Angola called WeConnect, we created the Freenet. Freenet is a product that allows people to connect to the internet for free. So we installed hotspots as a pilot in the capital. It worked well, but unfortunately this year, because of the COVID, we couldn't carry on with the rollout. But the idea is put a feature phone, a smart feature phone on as much people as you can, and give internet access to as much people as you can. And then on top of that, we are building a financial inclusion platform. And when I say financial inclusion, when I say fintech, people automatically think payments. Listen, the problem in Africa with payments and financial inclusion and digital inclusion is not about technology, because technology can be bought. You can buy technology, right? The problem in Africa is accessibility and distribution. So we spend most of the time on the concept, trying to find a product that can really work for everyone the same way. Doesn't matter if you have a feature phone, doesn't matter if you don't have access to the internet, doesn't matter if you have a smartphone, but you can have access to the same functionalities across the board. And this is our vision, is to, we are creating a platform that sells financial services for low-income people. I will just give you an example, because micro loans is very well known, and mobile payments, it's very well known as well. We all know the big success of M-Pesa, and in Angola we have been following closely some good initiatives. You have Use Kamba, you have a Key, you have Kubinga Pay, you have Soba Pay, you have a lot of payment platforms in Angola that will over time evolve to a more inclusive platform to sell other services, but we decided to start off with the financial services. And I will just give you an example on the micro insurance. Most of the people in Angola and probably across some of the regions in Africa, they don't even understand why they need a bank account. So imagine talking about insurance. So they probably prefer to keep their money under the mattress for the rainy day. So we made a study, and we decided to start with health insurance, but not just a broader health insurance product. So we decided to study malaria, which accounts for 35% of all the deaths in our country. And how can we help the efforts from the government and the society to fight malaria? So we created this product, which is a microinsurance product that gives access to medicine to low-income people with a very, very low price. If I tell you, it's like 30 kwanzas a week. If Armando, if you can go on xc.com and see the exchange rate to see how much in dollars, just to put in context, most people will understand. People can have access to one cycle of treatment of malaria per year. So it's not just about giving people access to the medicine, but we all understand the informal markets in Africa. Most of the medicines that goes to the informal market are out of date, they are ineffective, and people end up dying from the medicine other than the cure. So because the lack of medicine, or because people don't have access to medicine, it actually accounts for 60% of all the malaria death in Angola. It's because people don't have access to medicine. So it's not about the technology, it's about our contextual identity. How can we make products that work for the majority of people in our country? Because people in this forum are people that have access to a device that allows them to go to the internet, which they have access. And some people like myself, our national language is Portuguese, but I'm able to speak in English. So we don't represent the majority of the average African citizen. So we need to think about products that work for the average African citizen. And most of the times it's not about technology. Technology is a driver, but most of the time is how we can apply a concept that works with our contextual identity. So you give people access to a feature phone, which is affordable. You give people access to the internet, and then on top of that, you build a platform that can actually tackle financial inclusion, access to ways to fight malaria, which is a huge killer in our country, and trying to find a way to work microloans different from what we see in some other countries. And this is one good thing about Angola as well. We are very late adopters of fintech solutions. So we have this premise that we can learn from the mistakes and what went well in other countries, so we can implement in Angola and actually leapfrog from having nothing and having something that can actually work. So at the end of the day, it's not about making money, because I could just get my settlement back and go to Dubai and buy some used cars and bring it back to Angola, resell, and make 100%, 150% profit out of it. It's more than that. It's a sense of mission, because as we spoke earlier, I think young entrepreneurs should be looking into a broader spectrum of our societies and see how we can get a seat at the table and be part of the solution. And for those who can get involved into politics and actually bring some of those young blood into the table, it's great. For others that don't feel inclined to get involved into politics, please get involved into your community, how you can be more active socially and actually develop solutions that can help your fellow citizen on being included. So at the end of the day, it's a fintech, but have a broader spectrum other than just payments. You're on mute.
Thank you, Morato. As I said, he's on VUSI mode today. So Adam, you have space, time. Share with us what you do. Tell us about your background, and then we'll start the discussion after you finish.
Okay. I don't know if everyone can hear me fine. Is the sound good? All right. Yeah. So my name is Adam Shibindu. I'm gonna give a short presentation, and with that is what I'm gonna use to introduce what I do and what we've been working on as of now. All right, as I said, my name is Adam Shibindu. I'm the founder and CEO of Bora Technology. Bora Technology is a company based in Goma, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but I myself, I am in the United States. Currently, I am in Fort Worth, Texas, where I'm working for Tetra Pak Incorporated. And I went to school at Texas Tech University, where I got my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and also my master's degree in mechanical engineering and in bioengineering. So let me see how my keyboard works. All right. So I want to speak a little bit, like before I can get into the company, I'm trying to just kind of create an introduction toward what the motivation and what created this idea of us basically, as Morato said early, that not going to just making money, but also thinking like as a mission of going into the future. And with that, I'm sorry, here. So with that, I would like to look at one of the things here. This is an article that was published in the Washington Post in 2018, I believe it was in June 2018. And it was saying that the future is African and the United States is not prepared. And that article kind of discussed the topic that we are about to discuss here, and talked about this sustainability that we are trying to see and why is it important. And basically trying to go around the idea that each African country is rich in many ways. So we have Congo have diamonds, gold, we have forest, we have all type of resources that are there available for the population, but are unexploited. And the other thing is the lack of technology to exploit those type of resources becomes a very big problem. But can we produce technology in Africa? Can we actually not be importing everything from China or from India, or where not, from Europe? Can we make our own things back home? And also with the growing economical impact, you will see that basically, if we are looking through history from in 1700s, we're talking about the Industrial Revolution. The US is now industrialized. People are not doing stuff by hands anymore. Now we have like steam engines that are coming out and stuff like that. And then we go into a more electrical, electrical society. And then after we went to the digital world where everything is basically digitalized. And now we are in today's world where everything is AI. Is Africa gonna be able to catch up into that AI, into that new technology, those new technologies that the world is developing? And with that, we have to be able to look at the actual potential that Africa has to go through that. And that should inspire each one of us, should inspire the youth that with this potential that we have to transform it into something more, if I can put it, something more productive for our community and our society. And it is estimated, these statistics I also got them from Washington Post. It's estimated that 25% of the world population will be in Africa by 2050. And about almost half of the world population will be African by the end of this century, which means that as the young people in this generation, and our children will probably be the one leading the world, and we have to be able to send them something, or to leave them with something that is sustainable, so they can be able to be world leaders in the coming years. The same thing as in 2030, 43% of all Africans are projected to join the ranks of middle class. What happened when people join the middle class? What happened is life become luxurious. People come from having something as a need to having something as a want. That's what happened when the middle class is developed. In America, we will see a huge development of the middle class in the 1960s or 1950s. You will see everything basically, that's idea of freedom and having that middle class rising after the war. And that is something important. If by 2030 we are looking at that, then we have to be able to be prepared in such a way that we can produce ourselves and not just buy stuff from outside. And the other thing is the economical impact that we have. Around the same year, around 2030, it's estimated that the household, basically, the African capacity in the household will be about $2.5 trillion industry. That's a huge industry. That's if you're producing a product or a technology or anything that has to go in that type of industry, you have a huge economic impact. So it's not just that you are doing humanitarian help or helping the community or the society, but you are also making a large profit. Like I always say to my friends, Congo is a virgin land. Everything is still to do. So, and that is true for basically every African country. everything is still to do. As if we have a market of $2.5 trillion, and that's the household. Now, if you combine that now with business, we are looking at a market of $6.7 trillion. That means anyone can join this market and profit from it. And that's really interesting. Now, if you look at the projection now around the world, you will see that again, that this urbanization is happening. And that's something we can realize a lot in Africa, that a lot of people are moving from rural areas to having a better life into basically the cities. And if you have 60% cities like Kinshasa that are booming with about 14 million people in the city, you produce something sustainable for 14 million people, you are making a lot of revenue, and you are also helping people at the same time. So, and that's something, the engineering industry is something that's gonna be growing very, very fast. By 2025, the world globally on robotics, the investment is about $67 billion. So anyone investing in robotics will see themselves making a lot of money by 2025. Same thing goes in 3D printing, something, and the demand of technology, of devices that are 3D printed, 3D printed houses, 3D printed mobiles, like cell phones, like Morato, what Morato works on and things like that. We can be able to make those things at cheaper cost, but making a lot of revenue. So how is Africa gonna be able to join that future? And to answer that is why we came up with a solution. And that's our solution for something I thought about. This was after I got my master's degree. And for people who went to school in America, we all know the struggle of, as an international student, transitioning from actual school to real world experience, getting a job and settling down in America. So during that transition time, when in America, usually we call that the belly of the whale, basically where you are trying to find yourself out and trying to figure out your own life. With that, we saw that, excuse me here, we came up with a solution. We came up with a basic solution, and that is Bora Technology. And now it's the company is registered in Congo as Bora Technology, SARUL, RLU. And the company is based in Goma. We are trying to build a bridge between technology and community. And with that, we're trying to create sustainable technologies so people can be able to use them in our communities without traveling or without going to China to get from there. And something that is interesting, again, is something that I think Morato mentioned, because he did a very brilliant exposition of his work, is the fact that it's not just about traveling to China and buying stuff and shipping them to Congo. A lot of people do that. You could go ahead and go to China, buy machines, bring them to Congo, and have Congolese only operate those machines. And the problem with that is that you are not creating jobs for educated people. You are not creating jobs for engineers. You are not creating jobs for high qualified scientists. You are not doing that. You are only creating jobs for people who can do manual work. And that's a problem that at Bora Technology we wanted to solve. That instead of investing into machines, we would like to invest in people and try to leverage the potential of engineers in our communities and in our continent to be able to change, to bring the changes that our community needs. And this is our organization. I lead the company. I'm Adam, and then I have two vice presidents. One is taking care of our electrical wing, and another civil wing. And we have at this time we have about 8 employees that are working into the companies. Into the company, we have basically design engineers. We have control engineers. We have automation engineers. And what is interesting is that when I started, people were telling me that we cannot actually have people in Congo with the skills and the capabilities to be able to carry down a certain job or create a certain technology. And something that we did at Bora is that we kind of proved the world wrong, that the Congolese education is not, is as good as the, it's as good as any type of education people will receive all over the world. And we did that by showing that our engineers at Bora Technologies who went to school in Congo with the proper, with a good supervisor or with a proper supervising, they will be able to carry down really good and really interesting work to help in our communities. And some of our services, what we work on, as I said, we do new product development. And in new product development, we work with individuals, so a person who needs something, needs a technology, and they want to get it done. We can come up with it and we can develop it. Or we can work with businesses, restaurants, I don't know, hotels, any type of companies and businesses that need a certain technology and they want it to be developed. So something that I always joke, I always kind of talk about, or something that motivated me, is just always, there's a food that is eaten basically all over Africa. In Congo, we call it fufu. However, in East Africa, they call it ugali. Ugali is something that a lot of people, I mean, pretty much everybody consumes. However, ugali is still made traditionally. So if the mother need a machine to make ugali, the objective of Bora is to create that machine for them and to make the ugali for the mother, and kind of like reduce in time and reduce in the work that is put in, because that's the objective of having a machine. This, similarly, we also work on engineering consulting, and most of our work on consulting is focused in mining, construction, and also electrical power transmissions. So we have, our engineers have really good, well-experienced. Our VP is a PhD candidate actually in civil engineering with his specialization in structural analysis from Princeton University. So they are really good engineers who, for any type of constructions, from bridges to buildings to, I don't know, high towers and stuff like that, anything that is construction, our engineers are capable of coming up with the necessary technologies and coming up with necessary solutions for our community. So that is in engineering consulting. And at the same time, in power transmissions, we have really good electrical engineers who can work with big companies to be able to transmit power from one place to another. The same thing for mining. Mechanical engineers have worked with high pressure devices, high pressure technologies to be able to bring out the mines, because Congo, the biggest industry in Congo right now is mining. So we also have engineers that are capable of working into the mining business. Some of our technologies that we have developed, and these technologies are very original technologies. It's something that's actually coming up at the beginning of next week. We're going to be presenting a mechanical ventilator that we made for as a response to COVID-19 crisis. And this ventilator is something that can be made from what we have in Africa. So everything can be done at home in Africa and in the Congo. We are developing these in Goma in Eastern Congo. And it's a very sophisticated technology that's going to go on a human being. So it's something that's going to go through a lot of testing before we can be able to put it out as a technology that is used for the people. However, the technology is available. It's something that we're gonna go through the clinical trials. We are hoping at the end of this month. Some other stuff that we develop, we do make sensors. Our sensors are electromagnetic and mechanical sensors. So we come up with valves that have sensors for flow rate measurements. We have pressure measurement devices and pressure sensors that we make. But another thing that we are developing currently, and it's something that's also going to be in the market soon, is the automated hand washing stations. And that is something that we can put in offices, we can put at schools, we can put in hospitals, we can put even on the streets in Congo. We can be able to put these automated hand washing technologies that people just pass by and use them to wash their hands, considering the times we are living in and the new normal that we are about to face as a global community. And apart from that, Bora Technology is very much involved into education and actually community involvement. For me, I feel like to be able to develop a country is to develop it for the future, is to prepare for the future. And education is very important. So we partner up with it's actually one of the biggest programs in Congo, and that is Malaika DRC. Malaika is a community, I can say, is a center, is a community, is a school that help young girls basically be empowered and be independent and basically use the potential of those people to be able to develop Congo in the future. Something that I always say is that all the non-geniuses, we only know them because they had that opportunity to be at the right place in the right time. However, there are people all over the world, there are people down deep in Congo that can develop multiple different type of technologies or multiple different things. However, they are not considered because there's nobody to talk to them, nobody can access them. So with Malaika, we go deep down into the center of Congo and be able to discuss with these girls and help them, train them into engineering, into STEM programs. So we work with Malaika to empower the girls and also support the community there. Apart from that, we are a part of the response team on the COVID-19 pandemic in the Congo, and we have been developing multiple different things. We have helped develop face shields and stuff like that, and even masks that are 3D printed. We have helped develop those type of technologies to be able to help the community around us. So the idea is not to become rich or make a lot of money, but the idea is, as Morato said, it's a mission. It's something that we feel like we are responsible for the future of our continent and for the future of our community. So that is very important, and that is a few things that we work on. And to learn more, we have our website and our social media platform that we use to communicate and to be on air. So with that, I will be able to take any questions that you guys have and discuss more with you and see how we can bring a difference into our continent.
Thank you so much, Adam. I'll start with the first question and then let Luntadila ask some of the questions he has. When we talk about technology in Africa, and I'll start with Bob. He was the first one to start, so I'll start with him. The issue, especially with Texas Tech University, the issue that we see most of the time, the narrative that we see from people when we talk about technology in Africa is the infrastructure. Do you guys feel like that we have in the 3 different countries that the countries are ready with the infrastructure for the technological solution that we need to help minimize some of the problem, malaria, for example, in the case of Morato, education and many diseases in Congo and across the continent. Do you guys feel and think that we have the infrastructure to provide those solutions?
Cool, I'll go for that. I mean, first of all, I think it's important, when we talk about technology, to really, define and perhaps think of the scope of technology. What do we mean by technology? And technology is very broad. If you think about, I have a pencil over here. This pencil is a technology. A book is a technology. A cup is a technology. When I talk of the whole, these are technologies, right? But when you think of, something like a computer as well, that's the technology. So I think it's important to understand, and I think in this kind of conversations, I think our focus tend to be on information technology, or some of the more advanced technologies, in Adam's presentation, he talks about the fourth industrial revolution, and experts around the world call this era we're in, the fourth industrial revolution. And the technologies of this particular industrial revolution, things like AI, advanced robotics, virtual and augmented reality, all these drones, so. But there are a lot of other technologies, that we can think of. So I think, that's very important to really, define the scope of technology. But when it comes to aspects of infrastructure, now I speak for Uganda, I think, we are definitely, we have the basis of the infrastructural foundation, upon which to build some of the sustainable solutions. Now, are we where we are meant to be, as a country in terms of some of the infrastructure? Absolutely not. But I do think that what we currently have, so, think of some, key infrastructure, for example, you think of internet connectivity, that's a fundamental infrastructure upon which a lot of these solutions can be built on. We in Uganda, we have, the fiber backbone technologies that have already been put in place, electricity is it's a key infrastructure for any sort of technological advancement, industries and factories, I was watching a TED Talk some time ago, and I suppose the numbers have changed, but if you think about, the country of France, was consuming more electricity than the entire African continent, so that gives you a picture, of course, of the kind of, the fundamental infrastructure that needs to be in place. If you talk about things like physical infrastructure, roads, for example, how easy is it for people to move from one part of the country to the other, and I think Morato mentioned a very important point, during his introduction, and he said that the problems we see across Africa, most of the times are not really, a technology problem, but that of accessibility, and distribution, and so when I look at infrastructure, I'm thinking of it in that aspect as well. When you think of our distribution systems, and the sort of infrastructure that is in place to address some of these distribution challenges, that's when you begin to see perhaps the shortage in terms of the infrastructure, that exists. But as far as the infrastructure that is needed to build some of those, to build on and continue expanding on our, infrastructural capabilities, I think we're not doing badly off, at least from Uganda's standpoint. We have 4G internet everywhere now in Uganda. There's, a program in Uganda we're calling the Rural Electrification Program, where we're seeing, electricity now reaching a lot of other places. But of course, we still have a lot of other challenges. Load shedding is such a common thing in Uganda still, But I think that, we have a very good starting point, to continue building more sustainable solutions. So to answer that question more precisely, I do think that we definitely have a certain infrastructural basis upon which we can build a lot of these solutions. We are not yet where we want to be, but I think we are on the right direction. We have a good starting point.
Armando, can I?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so the short answer is yes. We can see infrastructure as a roadblock for technological advancement, but I don't like the short answers, so I'm gonna go for the long one, and please cut me off if I'm exceeding my time. So let's look. I can only speak about the market that I know well, which is my country. Okay, so Angola has been independent for 45 years. Angola still have a lot of oil, and we're talking about an era where oil was over $100 a barrel, right? So how can we fix that? We still looking at the issue the wrong way, Armando. We cannot look at infrastructure as a problem, or even access to technology as a problem isolated. Because all those things are tied up to people. So we need to look at our people. What our government, what our people in power did for the last 45 years to have a generation, like my generation, not just empowered, but most important, educated to move this country forward. So I would like to go back and tell, and this is my opinion, and this is my opinion alone. I think we are not looking deeply into the root of the problem. We're just looking at the cause, because the fact that we still don't have infrastructure that works in a country that is independent for 45 years and has been in peace since 2002. It's madness. So we need to look back and what we did wrong for the last 45 years, so we can start doing now. For the next 45 years, we have a generation that can actually lead this country forward. So it goes back to people. So we need to look at our people. That's why I still tackling the inclusion aspect of our society, because what make us different when we're born is opportunity. You may have the luck to born in a family that can afford to give you the right food when you're a baby, so you can develop your cognitive functions, right? You can have access to a very good basic education. And now you are, Armando, in the United States. You speak English, so this is opportunity. But there is another thing that we don't speak about that often, which is credit. What made us connect, what made all those people in this forum is credit. They saw the ad, they said, okay, this ad and the people involved in this ad, doesn't matter if it's you, Luntadila, Adam, Robert, or me, but they saw us as people with credit for them to donate their time to listen to us. So even if we fix the opportunity thing, which is, okay, let's make sure that everybody is born with the same opportunity. We still need to fix the credit, because we don't have the time to wait for another 45 years. We need to fix the credit because we need to fix, in Angola per se, we need to fix the life of 15 million people that live under 500 kwanzas a day, which is less than $1 a day. How do we fix that? We need to give credit to those people, for those people to be part of the conversation. And then those people will be better equipped to educate their kids and their sons and their daughters better. So those people will be the drivers for the next, we will be the drivers for those people to be the next generation with the tools to build the infrastructure that we lost 45 years to build, to be at the same level, technologically speaking, as Adam mentioned, as the other country, because I don't see the reason why. We are people just like people in Europe. We are people just like people in the United States. So what made us so late? And we need to look at the root, not the effect. And no, we need to look at the root, and the root still the people. So that's why I think the work that Robert is doing is extremely important, because we need to educate our people. Because those people that went to power after the independence, they were not equipped, they were not educated enough to think 45, 50, 60 years ahead. But we don't have the same excuse, because we've been exposed to globalization, and we have the responsibility to build a country and a continent for the future generations. So infrastructure, which is a matter of money, we can buy infrastructure. Technology, we can buy technology, but we cannot buy people forever. So that's why we need to educate our people so those roadblocks doesn't exist. Of course, infrastructure is a problem. I hear you, I agree with you, But the conversation doesn't stop there, because 45 years from now, we will still have the same problem. Infrastructure, we will have the same problem. People are not well educated. We will have the same problem. People don't have access, because distribution is still a problem. And it doesn't make any sense. And there is no reason, no logical reason for Africa or some countries in Africa to still be so late in terms of development.
So it's about politics. But let me hear Adam. What do you think,
Yes.
Adam?
So basically, yeah, it's true that that infrastructure becomes an issue. However, I mean, as a tech company, and one of the problems that I brought up during my presentation is that for us, we are not assuming that there is something for us to find to use, something like that. We are assuming that there is basically nothing, and we have to create it. So solving problems, we often see ourselves that our center, especially in Goma, we operate out of solar panels and stuff like that. Instead of relying on electricity, we have solar panels. We have wind energy to explore that we're actually looking into and see if we get enough wind in that region to be able to create, to explore wind in that area. So we are looking at more of, we don't have the infrastructure, but our company can come up with the infrastructure. Since we have the people, we can create the tools. That's basically what most of the stuff that we are working on. Things like we work on big projects. Things like urbanization of like basically in the city, looking at water production, for example. Where I'm from in Eastern Congo, in Goma, water, like drinking water, is a big deal. So if I'm a company, first of all, people are not getting water to drink. So where am I going to get the water from? So we look at plans, on how we can work on plans and then present those plans to government or to people who want to invest in those things. And we come up with a plan, we come up with a detailed design, and we propose that and say, okay, if you want to finance this, then you have that solution given to you. The same thing goes with bridges, the same thing goes with roads. If it becomes a necessity and we cannot do our job without it, then at that time we can advocate, we can play the role of the advocates, where we come with the design and we present that to the governments to contribute to that change that we are trying to bring. However, as for the moment, infrastructure in Congo is the problem. Electricity is a big deal. Though we have like a high potential electricity, it's a big deal. Internet in Goma is really hard to have access to. And it's even people who have access to it is just still, it's very slow. So usually my meetings with my engineers, you will see like it's the Zoom call freeze and stuff like that. However, we are planning on ways to go around it and to design around it. And that's what the reason why we became engineers. I always tell my engineer one thing, that it's okay not to know. However, we have to be able to find it out. So that's what makes us engineers. You answer me that I don't know, like basically there was no electricity, I didn't do my job. It's not an acceptable answer that we take at Bora. We tell our engineers that there was no electricity. However, I came up with a solution. I'm gonna give you a quick example. One of my engineers, one of my controls engineer, we were working on a project, one of our ventilator project, because at the crucial moment, he just wrote a huge code that he was about to, he was about to send it to us so we can implement the code on the device. And then apparently there is something weird happened with electricity, and his battery, his computer got destroyed. So when he sent it to me, when he told me that his computer got destroyed, I was scared. I'm like, this is like 1.5 months worth of work. If the computer is messed up, then we are not gonna be able to do our jobs. Why? Because of electricity came in the wrong way and stuff like that, and it destroyed the computer. However, he said, oh, I said, what can we do? He said, oh, okay, actually, I'm gonna go downtown. I'm gonna buy the piece that is messed up in the computer. I will come back home I will open up the computer, figure it out. I'm an engineer, so that's the job that we do. Figure it out, fix the computer, and continue, resume the work. And it's that type of people that we have in Congo. And people are adapted. What makes us stronger than pretty much all over the world is that we can adapt in our situation and shine from it, come up with something really, really great from the lack of technology or from the lack of infrastructure. We operate in such a way that those things, we use them as an opportunity to shine instead of as an excuse to be set back in our work.
Hi guys, thank you for your contributions. And as I hear you guys discussing about all these different work you've been engaged to, it's really wonderful to see, you know, your approach to entrepreneurship, your approach to innovation, which is really incredible. I took some notes and I wanted to follow up on them with each one of you at individual level. We have also people in the chat starting to add some questions, which is awesome. Now, the first thing I wanted to follow up is in this idea of lack of infrastructure. If you look back at the history of the Western world, you'll see that a lot of infrastructure did not come about because the government deliberately invested on them, but they were in larger extent a product of private individuals who funded these operations. But before this massive investment, it was very small entrepreneurs like you guys who came up with plausible ideas and product and services that society believed it was worth funding. So my question is, at what capacity you guys are starting to not only look into, okay, I want to build this software or piece of, you know, technology, but I want to start developing things like satellite. For the internet work, you need satellite. You need tower for transmission. How do we move to the traditional source of electricity to, let's say, renewable source of electricity? One of the question actually in the chat is about, you know, trying to think about development and solution in Africa as a copycat to Western or developed countries. And we know that those models aren't working in the West. So how do you guys are connecting the pieces between coming up with infrastructure and not necessarily the same way infrastructure exists in the West, and connecting that to problems in the African continent?
I can go first and answer if that's okay with everyone. I think like someone also, like I was kind of reviewing the chat and somebody came up with the exact question, basically where are we not becoming copycat of something that's already being done on the basically in the Western world? And the answer is no. There is something really interesting, and there's a book that I would recommend to everyone. It's something called From Zero to One. It's a very famous book. I don't know, a lot of entrepreneurs read the book, and it's a very interesting book. And something that I've learned is the fact that some people come from 1 to N. So basically taking a technology from somewhere and multiplying it. And that's an example from China, for example. China doesn't come up with anything new. They basically take the thing that has already existed, they make a million and billion of them, and then they make money out of it. For us, it's very different. As I gave an example early, is that we are studying the problems in Africa. We are studying our own problems in Congo. That's where the example of the mother who was trying to make fufu, for example, and they need a machine for fufu. We don't have a machine for fufu that you can buy from China. However, since it's our problem, it's an African problem, we come up with those solutions on our own that address specifically a problem that we have in our community, because problems that they have in the US are not the same problems we have in Congo. In Congo, we can have diagnosis problem, for example, because we also work on that type of technology. Like we work on diagnostics. One of my biggest work actually is in diagnostic technologies, looking at disease diagnostics and stuff like that, and being able to open a research center in Goma to be able to conduct those type of research where we come up with our own technology to address our problems. And you will see that in America, they don't have malaria. It's not a big public health problem here. So for me to come up, let's say, for example, I'm going to compare two diseases. In America, they don't really have malaria as much as also in Congo, we don't have a lot of cancer. Cancer doesn't kill people every day in Congo. It's not something that we worry about on a daily basis. So bringing technology to treat cancer in Congo will be like bringing technology to treat malaria in America, where it's not the huge problem. So our focus and our research most of the time is focused on something we study in our own community and come up with solutions. So we have also a business department. And in our business department, we come up with technology, they do the market analysis, they check if it's something that we actually need in our society. And then we give a commercial value. And that's kind of the way, and I always tell my engineers that, hey, live your dream. Like, come up with something. You live in Congo. You know what you're going through every day. Me, I only have the executive power, basically. And I live in the US. My challenges that I'm facing here, they are not the same as the challenges that you're facing there on a daily basis. So in your dream, why did you become an engineer? Can you come up with something that can help millions of people in Africa, because you are also a part of those millions of people? So it's something that...
Adam,
yes.
I hear what you say, this idea of, you have to come up with something that is, based on your reality. But
Yes.
again, the issue of, okay, well, you and Robert and Morato said that yes, infrastructure is a problem, but it doesn't seem like you answered my question in terms of, yes, there is a problem, but we're not necessarily developing this infrastructure ourselves yet. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. I see. I think I see what you mean. Yes, I answered. Yes, infrastructure is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
However, we are designing around that problem. You see, so we have, it's like a mountain that we cannot climb through, because it's there. It requires a big investment, so we cannot do our job if we are to focus on the big mountain that infrastructure is putting in front. However, we design around it. We create a channel in which we can still do our jobs despite the problem of infrastructure, and that's on a short-term basis. Now, if you go now on a long-term basis, we come up with plans, and I think some of my engineers are kind of watching us right now, so they probably gonna know what I'm talking about more. Is that we come up with plans, and those plans are projects that we actually give to the government. So it's things that we work on. It's a design that is available, that can be implemented. However, our company is not as large, or we cannot put a huge investment into something that is public and the company is not benefiting from. So it's something that
let's put a pin on that, and we can come back to that. I'd like to get some insight from Bob and Morato. I don't know who wants to go first. Just go ahead and please fire.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the issue of who develops the infrastructure, right? I think that's the question that asks. Do we just sit back and wait for the government to sort of meet up this infrastructural deficits, or do we jump in and do what we can do? I think that when I think of the, first of all, I think that, it's very possible to come up with a model of a private-public sort of partnership here, and in this sort of context, I think the role of the government really in any setting is to create an enabling environment, right, for the private enterprise to thrive in addressing some of these, market problems, and so that's a very important aspect, but,
so that's according to you, not necessarily in general, correct?
Right. That's what I strongly believe, that the government first and foremost has to play that role of creating an enabling environment, and that requires, the existence of some sort of functional institutions, right? However, institutions, I define institutions simply as a set of rules on how, things are done, So at the core of institutions are people, and I think it takes us back to what Morato has been trying to preach so hardly today, I think it's a people problem here, When we have the right people, running these institutions, then we can begin to see governments delivering and creating the sort of enabling environments that allows for private enterprise to thrive in addressing some of these problems, right? In our context, we for sure cannot sit back and just, fold our hands and say, let's wait for the government to fix these problems, We will wait for another 45 years, another 50 years, and things will just not happen how we expect them to happen, So when I think of the challenges in education, for example, I think of education, I think it's a responsibility of any government to invest in its people through ensuring that there's the right and proper education, right? But where we see deficits and things not happening how they're supposed to be, we have to find ourselves at the table. We have to take our seat at the table and see what can we do as private individuals, what can we do as private entities, as enterprise, as entrepreneurs, to begin to address some of these problems that the government seem not to be addressing, And the way the government is structured is just so bureaucratic, and the process of change is much slower, right? Private enterprise, on the other hand, is built on efficiency and effectiveness, and distinct ways that things are done, and that gives it an advantage, an upper hand in addressing some of those market problems than the government would, So I think in an ideal setting, I would like to see for a more sort of, a private, public partnership, where we're seeing, governments really ensuring that they're creating the right enabling environment. It could be, taxation, for example, a lot of the subsidies, things that encourage for innovation to happen, things that ensure that entrepreneurs are emerging and really have the best sort of environment to operate when it comes to addressing some of these market problems, such as infrastructure, for example, So I think that, yes, private enterprise has such an important role, and we see that across Africa. When I think of the internet problem, for example, in Uganda, it's the private sector that is really taking lead on that. We have MTN, for example, across a lot of our countries, and these are private companies, that for the most part are really ensuring that some of the critical infrastructure development, can be taken on, and not waiting necessarily on governments to build some of this critical infrastructure, So I think that, yes, the government has to create an enabling environment for private enterprise to really, function in as far as addressing these problems. But at the end of the day, I think there has to be some sort of collaboration.
Yeah, let me just go back to the context, because one of the things that we at Bantu Makers have been studying is this thing called contextual identity. What is our contextual identity in Africa, specifically in Angola, for example? Luntadila, you don't have in Europe or in United States wood sticks, huge wood sticks, holding a 4G repeater for a mobile operator. So someone had to come up with a solution to address a problem based on the resources that he had. So we as African, of course, I know a lot of people that are driving innovation to fix some of those problems based on our contextual identity. But we need to look at the broader spectrum, which is in United States alone, into 2018, it was filed 285,000 patent submission for new products. Do you know how many patent request was submitted in Angola? No, we don't know, because back to what Robert was saying, the government didn't create an environment where entrepreneurs as ourselves, as Adam, can look at the problem that we have, come up with a solution, which is an African solution based on our African problems, and submit for registration, and then go after venture capitals and people who can invest on those solutions. We don't have that. So we need to go back and look at what we have done based out of necessity. M-Pesa is unique. You don't have M-Pesa in Europe. You don't have M-Pesa in the United States, because they don't need M-Pesa, but we needed M-Pesa. And out of that necessity of moving money, of remittance, and to provide a payment which is inclusive for most of the population, they came up with that infrastructure. But look at who came up with that infrastructure. It's a huge company that have their own money, that they didn't even need the government to regulate something before they already done. So we need to look at our context, and we need to find ways to collaborate with the government. And actually, it's not just teach them, it's find space where we can communicate with our government and help our government help us, entrepreneurs, come up with solutions which is Afrocentric, that works for our people, and we can build using our own resources, as Adam brilliantly put it. So is not rather, we are not building infrastructure, the infrastructure has been built, but is not at a scale that it's visible, because back to what I said previously, our generation didn't find a space to thrive, and our generation was not prepared to have that critical thinking, because we don't believe in brainstorming. If we join forces to talk about ideas, we say, no, I cannot speak about my idea because people will steal my idea. So we don't brainstorm. We don't sit around the table to discuss ideas and join pieces together, connect the dots to build our infrastructure. We don't do that because we were not taught to do that. So we go back to your point is extremely pertinent. I love that question because it goes back to a problem that I'm very passionate about, which is how can we prepare the next generation to find a political environment where they can thrive, where they can register patents, where they can you don't have venture capitalists in Africa. You don't have that. And the banking industry is not prepared to fund entrepreneurs as ourselves. So we need to go to that uncle that works at the government to give us money to build our own things, but we'll never be at a scale that we can actually help our governments. So I don't have a clear answer for you, because the problem is broader than the question that you posed. I don't know if I made myself clear.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and some of the other interventions we're hearing. And to me, it sounds like there is a lot of comparison between African countries and Europeans or the United States and now China. Now, I just want to emphasize a point before I move to the next question, which is one of the things you actually mentioned, is that the United States has been a country for more than 250 years. European countries have been around for more than 400 years as countries. Most African countries, except for Liberia, Ethiopia, they only have independence for less than 70 years. So the parallel there, I mean, of course, we don't have an excuse for the slowness of the pace we move with our advances. But there is, to me, it seems like it's not a comparison between apple to apple. I don't know if that makes sense. So what I was thinking is, can we think about Africa in a way that we don't have to compare it, let's say, to Western Europe or United States or Australia, China. China have a civilization that dates back to at least 4,000 years. So when we make our contributions, like, are we comparing Africa with itself and the best it can be, or are we using other models that have been outside the continent for much longer than African countries? So
Yeah,
that's just yeah.
Yeah, I think I can go ahead and intervene on what you just mentioned. It's true that it's not fair to compare Africa with the rest of the world. However, something that we also have to understand is that what happened, let's say what happened 100 years ago and what happened 300 years ago is cannot be compared with the reality in which we are living right now, right? We are living in something that is like a planetary village, where everything that is happening in America, in my village, my uncle is calling me that there was a flooding in Houston. Are you guys safe? You see that type of things there. So basically, us being independent for 50 years, I mean, in Congo, it's now like this year, it's now 6 years of independence. It's true that we have not made it there yet, but I don't think it's something that's gonna take us 200 years to make it there. Yeah. And why? Because in our day and age, in our generation, we are equipped with the tools that the previous generations did not have in the same African continent or in the same world. And looking at it that way, it's just, it's kind of give us some type of a window to be able to make that comparison. For me, I don't even see it as a comparison. I see it as a challenge. To be able to say, oh, well, like as I studied in my presentation, I say that I came to America because my parents believed that if I come to America, I'll have the proper type of education that I wouldn't receive in Congo otherwise, if I stayed there. And they were not wrong. However, it's not necessarily completely true that the education that I received in Congo is better than the education I received in America. So when you look at it that way, in our day and age, maybe in the 1960s, when people went to school in America, they could have something way, way better than someone who stayed in Congo. However, coming to school in America right now, as for me, I can kind of share my experience here, is that for me, coming to school in America only gave me the opportunity to have the proper network and to have the proper facilities. But when it came to the actual education, when I discussed with my engineers, I go, wow, so you guys went to school and learned this. This is the type of stuff that for us to learn it, we have to be in the corporate world, or we have to be in grad school to be able, because now you are looking at stuff on your own, you are teaching yourself, you are looking into more deeper stuff. However, it's something that people back home are getting it as an education. So I feel like it's no more about how much time we have had of we've been independent, or how our infrastructure give us kind of that opposition into making the proper change. But it's a more into the leadership part on creating that type of an environment that can also, it wouldn't take long to create and to be able to simulate and have it there in a way that is not the Western way. In a way that we can look at the methods, right? But the application of those methods has to be specifically for Africa. It has to be something that works for us and can help our people first. And also something that we always forget as African is that we don't only have Africa, we have the whole world. Something that can be developed to solve a problem in Africa can also be used in Latin America because we might be facing the same issues. Can be used in Southeast Asia, even Northern Asia. Or we can look even in Europe. So for me, when we come up with technologies, when we develop stuff, we say, okay, primarily we are solving problems for Africa, but the goal is also to go global. To look at something, oh, it's a company. I work for a company that is in 180 countries. So that means the same problem that company is solving in Europe, it's solving the same problem in Africa. So why don't we come up with, as Africans, why don't we come up with solutions that are also, that are also applied everywhere else also in the world? Why can't we do also that? So it's something that we can explore, but we only have to have the right mindsets to it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that contribution. I wanted to move on to look more into the business feasibilities of your all of your startups and ventures. I wanted to ask in terms of the scalability of the project you guys are working on. For example, Adam, you mentioned several products that you guys are piloting and working on. Robert, you talked about how you and your team are incorporating technology in education through virtual reality. And Morato, you mentioned a few things, but the key one is more into the fintech area to create a financial inclusion in Angola. So what I wanted to ask is in terms of scalability, how much of the work you guys have done so far have been tested, let's say, with one community, and you guys kept track of the result before and after the product you guys introduced that you guys produced showed, and what's the plan after that step? Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, Morato, I'd like to start with you. Can you go ahead?
Listen, that Africa versus Western world comparison struck a nerve, and I could go on a rant for 1 hour explaining
Absolutely.
why about my views. Sorry, I don't want to take much of your time, and I don't think this should consume much of our time as well, but I think we have an opportunity to do a leapfrog in less time than other civilizations did, because we know what worked elsewhere, and knowing our country, knowing our continent, and having into account our contextual identity, we can work along our government to create a proper environment for us to thrive. But let's not go back to there, but we can just look at the Rwanda story, and we can see that as African, from Africans for Africa, we can actually change our countries and our continent in less than 20 years. So going back to what you said, let me start with the mobile phone factory. So everything, 96% of every goods that we consume in our country is imported, okay? So we did a study, and our biggest mobile network operator, Unitel, is preparing to decommission 2G network and invest more money into scaling up 3G access and scaling up 4G, and they are now discussing with Huawei to implement 5G. Talking about sustainable technological solutions for Africa. So if we look at the flow, if we keep on relying on importation to serve our communities, to serve our people, we will be limited by exchange rate fluctuation. We will be limited by other big players that place bigger order in China or any other country, and then you get a back order, you delayed to serve your country. So our mobile phone factory, we breach the mark of 250,000 units produced, and the market acceptance of all the products that we manufacture in Angola was very, very positive. Just to give you an example, we have less than 1% fail rate on our quality control to deliver our product to the market. And out of 100 units, we get back from our big customer, which is Unitel, 1 unit. So we're talking about 1% return rate, which we can cover with our 2%, what do you call, replace. So we always give 2% more to our customer just to cover that 1% that they get back from their customer. So we consider that period as a pilot. Now, because of the COVID and social distancing and everything, it's a challenge, is a problem, but we also find as an opportunity to restructure. And because the whole country got a big hit, they are looking into the local entrepreneurs, the local companies, for solutions that don't rely on importation. So now we have a relaunch program that we plan to breach the 1 million units produced by June next year, because let me just show you one picture. So talking about sustainability, we could have invested more in technology, in more machines. But when I think about sustainability, I think about how the society can be sustainable on a long run. So we decided to invest the least on technology and put more people at work. So each 2 people out of 1 is actually replacing a machine. So we're doing most of our work manually, and it's a challenge for quality control, but also it gives more people jobs, and we can actually contribute for our community to be more sustainable. So in terms of plans to scale, we plan to breach the 1 million mark by June next year. And we are very happy and very proud with the traction that our product have in this market.
Bob?
Yes. So, I mean, first of all, I would also, agree with Morato that the comparison really struck a nerve here, and I don't want to dive into that, but I think it's important for us to really understand the historical context. We know the disruption that happened in Africa's natural trajectory of development. We can go and talk about colonialism and all these things, but I think none of this should be an excuse for us, but that's a topic for another day. As far as what we have been working on and scalability is concerned, and Maria Sasa, right now with the outbreak of the COVID-19, our focus has primarily been on ensuring that learning continues, right? And over the last couple of months, we have built a platform, the learning platform, completely, and it's completely ready, to go live. We already have courses, so we think of it in 2 phases. One is like building the platform, the technology is really easy. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, and in our space, we already have solutions that have been tried and tested in terms of their scalability, massive open online courses have been here since, I think 2010, 2011, and so a lot of technologies out there, platform technologies have already been tried and tested. So we know how scalable it is, The challenge we're trying to address really is how do we contextualize that, to a Ugandan setting, to an African setting, but also to those entrepreneurs out there, who might not be able to easily onboard on platforms like Coursera or, EDX, which one, when you think about the initial idea when we started building our platform, we actually realized that a lot of universities across Africa were not offering courses on some of these global platforms, like Coursera, Udacity, and a lot of these platforms. But also there's a certain category of learners that is completely not thought about. Most of those courses are focused on professional development or university, college level, education. But when you think about the basics, the foundation, primary and secondary, right? And then of course, other, trainings like for entrepreneurs and all these sort of platforms. We wanted to build a solution that caters to one, that particular, category of learners. But secondly, we wanted to build a platform that is 100% customizable to the need of, the school, to the need of, the learners, to the need of the educators and entrepreneurs, right? And that is exactly, what we have done. And once you figure that out, then, it's really a matter of just implementation. The greatest work we focus on doing is content development, either for our Shule Sasa Academy or working with the network of, entrepreneurs and educators and schools and institutions that, we're trying to support during this time, to help them in the onboarding process, help them in the content development process. But as far as the scalability of the technology is concerned, that has been tried and tested. We have a very robust platform. I could share my screen real quickly and just show you, briefly how, our interface looks, So for example, this is some of the, the catalog of some of the courses we currently have, So if you look at something like English is a sample, it's a sample course right here, we build a platform to be highly interactive and very, very engaging with the learner, So when I look at a subject like this, and, the medium viewer that right here, you're able to easily, really interact with the learner and the content at a level that has not been possible for a lot of it, So the platform is very, very scalable, and that is something we really, really, we're focusing on. When we think about the long-term sustainability as well, we like to think of sustainability, I think there are three aspects of what makes up sustainability. There's the social aspects, there is the economic aspect, and there is the environmental aspect, right? Those three things, the intersection of those three components is where sustainability lies, So in our aspect, when you're building a platform and thinking of the social implications of our solution, inclusion, accessibility, and really solving the distribution problem, because as far as tech is concerned, we think we'll figure out the technology part of it, The problem we're really trying to solve is a distribution problem. How do we ensure that, learners across Uganda and across Africa can continue to have access to meaningful and quality educational opportunities, regardless of where they are, right? That is really what we have to see. So when we think about how scalable our technology is concerned, what we are thinking of right now in Uganda has to do with, for example, zero rating our platform, and that involves some sort of collaboration. We're already initiating talks with tech companies like MTN, for example, which is a key player in the Uganda telco industry. How do we ensure that, those learners in the rural parts of Uganda will have network connectivity, but might not be able to afford, the cost of data to be able to access this learning material on our platform? How do we think about those sort of learners, right? And zero rating, seems to be one of such ways to ensure that, the solution is even scalable in the sense that the number of people, the number of end users that are able to access our platform and actually really, get the most out of it significantly increases, Now, when it comes to our approach, we are in the educational industry, and every country out there seems to have their own national curriculum, And so the way we have developed our process is to ensure that whenever we launch into a new country, we are easily able to basically, adopt the national curricula in that country and work with the teachers in that country to create learning materials and learning content that aligns with the national curriculum in that particular country, So that ensures that, the solution is very scalable, whichever country we go to, Now, right now, our platform is completely built in English, We are already beginning to look into, the other part of Africa, for example, the Francophone parts of Africa, the Portuguese-speaking parts of Africa, like, Angola and Mozambique, right? These are some of the things we have to be thinking about if we're thinking about, continental-wide reach and scalability in that sense, Language shouldn't be a barrier here, So as far as the technological aspects of it is concerned, we have really figured that out in terms of how scalable it can be. Now it's a matter of on the content side of things, how do we ensure that we have, the right experts on board? We have something we call subject matter experts, that we work a lot with. These are people who understand a lot of the, the national curriculum in countries we're working in. Right now, we're only in Uganda, but when we go to a country like Kenya, like Rwanda, like Tanzania, for example, right? How do we involve the local experts there, those who understand the education landscape more than someone coming from Uganda would? When we think of going to Angola, how do you ensure that we have the right people on board? So that's really what I can say about that front.
Robert, so
Luntadila,
yeah,
give me a second. I know that you have a follow-up question, but
Right.
because of time here, time it's money, and I understand. At this point, you guys already have an idea of what Morato, what Robert, what Adam do in a bigger scale. What we would like to do is you can put the name if you want to connect with Morato and Rob and Adam on a breakout room. You can put a name. I would like to connect and follow up with Robert, Bob, or whoever out of the three guys. Now, I would love for you guys to be very brief, especially those who are part of the participant. Aldemiro is one of them. He made a comment that he would like to ask a question. 1 to 2 minutes, please. Let's be brief, because at the end of the day, we want to interact and connect with those three. They have the answer based on what they do. So be brief. Aldemiro, you have 1 to 2 minutes to ask a question, and then someone else might jump in, and then Luntadila will take over with his follow-up question. Aldemiro, if you can hear us, just start. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
First of all, congratulations for the initiative. Before I make my questions, I'd like to tell Mutandila, in my point of view, I think that it's normal for us to make some comparisons, so that we can try to understand, we can compare the different stories of the countries. We know that most of the countries in Europe were not colonized, but US right now, it's a great nation, but was also colonized. I know that it takes a long time, but we can, of course, compare so that we can take from this comparison some examples, and we can take the good to our countries and try to make some changes or try to make some differences. And I also think that in terms of engineering, in terms of experience, in terms of building new things like machines and whatever, we can take examples from one country and take to other and try to make the right adaptations so that this can attend our purpose or our problems. I think that this kind of things can be done. My question now is, in your point of view, what are or what is the great problems that we face as a young people when we want to become, for example, entrepreneur? We know that in Angola, we got a lot of problems. Many times you come with an idea, but you face a lot of difficulty so that you can turn this idea into a real thing that solve problems, that face the reality of the people. I think that Adam talk about taking some ideas in Congo and they try to get some support, and it is not mainly, I think it is not as difficult as it is in Angola, But in your point of view, what are, in general, in Africa, what are the main problems that we face when we want to turn a project, for example, into a reality? Thank you.
Thank you, Aldemiro. Gloria, the three panelists, please write down the questions and then just fire them as soon as we finish with those questions.
Sorry, the question from Aldemiro was how do we grow, basically?
What are the main problems
that we face when we want to turn a project into a reality? Now,
okay, yeah.
We face a lot of problems from the government. The way they manage the things, it brings us some difficulties that many people has already given up, for example, from realizing some projects.
Okay, I don't want to mansplain Aldemiro, but I think is what are the problems when it comes to turning ideas into project?
Into a real project.
Okay, thank you. Gloria, you have 1 to 2 minutes to ask your question. You can unmute yourself whenever you're ready. I think Gloria is not with us. She left already. Okay. One of you guys can jump and answer Aldemiro's question.
I would like to
you can go first. Yeah.
Okay, cool. You know, from a much broader point of view, you know, some of the challenges, you know, we do face, you know, as young people across the continent. You know, I think that there's so many of us working on so many ideas and so many different projects, you know, in silos, right? We are all doing our small little project in our small little corner out there, you know. But I think that if we as young people, especially as an African youth, you know, begin to really address some of this, barriers, for example, connecting with one another, you know, I think our greatest strength as a continent and as young people of Africa, you know, will be our ability to connect with each other and to join hands in a lot of in the way we approach some of the problems that we do solve, you know. And so, you know, specifically, you know, there's a chance that someone else is thinking about that same idea that you're thinking about, you know. So, you know, if you want to go far as an entrepreneur, I don't think you can succeed as a lone bird on your own, right? The first step I normally do when I have a crazy idea in my mind is find someone else, you know, share it with them. And if they think it's, you know, crazy like I do, you know, I think we have two crazy people who think, you know, they can do this, you know, you know. So sharing your idea with someone else who, you know, really gets, you know, will take you a little bit far, because if you just leave it and stay with it in your mind on your own, the truth of the matter is you won't really go very far, you know. So always building those coalitions, you know, building those coalitions, I would say, you know, and that, you know, the mastermind, you know, finding other people who believe in that idea, you know, will always ensure that the idea comes to life much more than if you just kept it to yourself, you know. So that's just one practical thing that I would recommend, you know. Don't just stay with that idea in your head. Find someone else, share it with them, and collectively you'll begin to see ways in which you can make that come to life.
I'm gonna jump in and answer the question. So basically, the problem that we face from idealization to actually materialization. And as we said at the beginning, that infrastructure is an issue back home, especially for us working in the technology industry. At the beginning of the project, it was very hard because we live in that environment, but we never actually try to change that environment. So that was the main, one of the biggest issues we faced at the beginning, was just being able to have that proper infrastructure. And one of the other things is to hire the right person. We have people, actually, people are educated in Congo, like a lot of people are educated, but finding the right type of a person with the right type of training to do the job, considering that we are a startup, we are not, as I can say, we are not very open to put a lot of investment into training compared to other big companies that will take people and train them. For us, we want people who are already capable of doing something on their own. If they're gonna learn, it's gonna be like as they work, they are learning like a new process and a new program and stuff like that. So that's one of the main things that we face one of the things that's actually it's a shout out to I can make to the Congolese government. They made us easy for us, especially in Congo, to be able to carry down our investments and to get all the paperwork. I remember about 5 years ago, to get paperwork to actually run a business in Congo would take a year. Imagine like a year you're trying to bring a business into a country. However, now all our paperwork came out in a week. And it's something that I actually praise the Congolese government for. And that could have been a huge challenge that we could have faced. However, it's something that's became easy for us. We got all our paperwork and now we are operating. So coming from the idea to the products, the first thing is the people. The second thing is the infrastructure. And with a more rigorous way of hiring. So if you are very strict on who you want to hire, and because you're trying to make money, so then you can be able to produce something like a new product, a new idea. And also when it comes to infrastructure and equipment to use, for example, for us, so a lot of stuff we use, we had to create them from scratch. So we take a material, basically, like if it's a metal, we have partners, so we work in partnership with people who actually have like machine centers in Goma. So they have, they've brought already their machines. So as I say, like a lot of people buy machines from China and bring them there so that they can be used for certain, but we change the purpose of those machines into creating the same machine, but the new technology. That can be used back home. So that's some of the challenges that we have faced.
Okay, it's an easy question, but at the same time, it's very difficult because the answers hurts. One of the biggest challenges, based on my experience, Aldemiro, is the regulations. Most of the ideas, either we iterate from an existing idea or we have a first principle thinking approach to an idea. Most of our government institutions are not ready to regulate that. For example, at Bantu Makers, we have a crowdfunding platform that is the first crowdfunding platform for Portuguese countries in Africa. And it has been operating for, I believe, close to 2 years now. And there is no regulation for crowdfunding. And it's very difficult for us to scale the platform because we're now operating on a gray area, but if we scale, we're gonna tap into the financial services area, and there is no specific regulation for crowdfunding. And the type of regulations that are being applied to us doesn't make justice to our business model. So one of the biggest issues that we have in Angola and a few other African countries is actually regulation. As Adam mentioned, when you come with an idea and you want to register your company, in Angola before, I don't know, maybe up to 2 years ago, some company objectives were not actually listed on our government institution for us to select which company we are building. So like e-commerce, up to 2 years ago, before 2 years ago, there was no e-commerce option for you to create an e-commerce company. So one of the biggest issues that we have here in Angola is regulation. First, there is no regulation, which is fine, but we don't see the openness to let us propose, to let us create, and then they build the regulation around what already exists and have success. The second issue is we don't have many points of reference to study our problems. And most of the entrepreneurs that I've been in contact with through Founders Institute, that I'm associated with Founders Institute as well, to teach entrepreneurs to come into the market. One of the things that one of the issues that I've faced with them is that they come to an acceleration program without being fully educated about the problem they're trying to solve. And because access to statistics, access to numbers, access to basic information about the problem you're trying to solve being so difficult, it makes their job very difficult. So I believe that being able to get educated on the problem you're solving is also a barrier. And the third, I would say something that my fellow colleagues in the panel didn't mention, but I think it applies to most of the African countries as well, is that the financial system is not built for risky investment, for startup investment. So you see startups going to a bank to ask for a loan. But if you look at the financial system, the banks doesn't have any product for startups. So I would categorize in three main problems: regulation, access to information, and funding. Because as I mentioned before, infrastructure for me it's a problem. It is a problem, but out of necessity, we have been able to innovate in Africa and create solutions that work for our people.
Just to tackle on that, I'll ask the question for the three of you guys, but I would like to start with Adam. When we talk about technology and sustainability in Africa, the first idea, even Bob mentioned that the first idea that pops into people's mind is digitalization. It's a phone, for example. It's a machine that works. But when we see the context of African continent, few people have access to digitalization. What are you guys doing, Bob, Morato, and Adam? Adam, it's more on the mechanical side, but you can jump on that, and I'd like to start with you. What are you guys doing in terms of inclusion to facilitate the access? And I'm talking about the people who never saw any technology, so that they can benefit from the solution. Or what should be done for those entrepreneurs who are listening today and watching us to tackle those villages, to tackle those places that they do not have electricity, they do not have access to a mobile phone, they do not have access to the world that few of us, and I love the context and the narrative that Morato brings when it comes to talking about the continent. It's not us. We just 18 people right now. So I see that Morato wants to jump in. But Adam, do you mind Morato starting?
No, he can go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you, Adam and Robert. Thank you very much. So let me talk about LUE, which is the financial inclusion platform. So it's easier for us as entrepreneurs to find iOS or Android developers online, wherever in the world, or even in Angola, that can quickly develop an app that you can use. But if you develop a product that is based on smartphone, you are actually accessing a group of 500,000 people in a country of 32 million people. So what we're doing is, first, we made our platform accessible through four channels: a mobile app, USSD, SMS, and voice calls. So any person that have access to a phone can call in, send an SMS, use USSD commands or a smartphone to access our product. But again, this is not enough. So that's why I built a mobile phone factory, just to make sure that we can actually facilitate microloans for people to have access to mobile phones. But that's not enough, because most of the people don't know how to read or write. So we built a pilot program in partnership with the Swedish embassy in Angola. We're actually building this program with them, where we're gonna grant to a number of people the possibility to have a financial inclusion training. So we selected 2 groups, 50 people on one side, 50 people on the other side, 50 people that knows how to read and write, 50 people that doesn't know how to read or write. And then those 2 groups will be separated into 4 groups of 25 people, 25 people. So we will minister 4 methodologies of training for those people. And then we will measure the KPIs when they go to the market, and the group that have more, the group that becomes more tech savvy with our platform, we will use that methodology to scale up into the distribution channels that we already have to communicate with the people, which is word of mouth. Most people don't have access to electricity. Most people don't have access to television, radio, or internet. So we're not thinking about digital marketing only and all those fancy things. No, what we're doing is developing a methodology where we can actually get the word, get the training, get the basic knowledge about financial literacy to the most remote village, as long as they have access to a network cell, which in Angola, it's fairly good because we cover, in terms of area, more than 82% with mobile network coverage. So for those people that don't have access to a mobile phone or network coverage, we are in partnership with a mobile network operator where the agents that they have spread, because there's no other company in Africa that have more footprint than a mobile network operator in any country. So they have the biggest network distribution network in any country, I believe. So what happens is people can go there as a financial service provider. We are enabling gas station to be a financial service provider. We are enabling the small, in South Africa, they call spaza shops, those small mom and pops in the villages. We are enabling those spaza shops to be a financial service provider. So it's not just about the platform and the channels. It's not just about the device, but it's also about how we can educate our people to use our platforms. That's our approach.
Yeah, I think I can jump in. And so, with respect to your question, how do we get to how a person that is not educated is going to be using our technologies? Most of our technology, I mean, we have a separate set of technology. For example, the hand washing post that you just seen there. We have 2 versions of the hand washing post. We have a mechanical one, something that doesn't require electricity. So basically, here's a pedal, you put your foot on the pedal, and then it brings soap, it brings water. It doesn't require actually any electricity to operate it. And that is something we can put on streets and villages. It's something that can be in like very public places. However, we have scales for that, and that also comes down into our scalability, like where do we sell our product, who do we send it to? And it's because that product came with respect to a need that was already there, and which the need, like COVID-19 is there, people need to wash their hand all the time, and people don't want to touch, like basically you don't want to touch the same surface where somebody else touched. So which makes like this normal, like the existing hand washing technology that's available back home, that make them not accessible basically due to the current situation. So what we did is we came up with two sets of technology. So we have one that is manual, that anyone can operate without any knowledge of whatsoever, didn't go to school. You literally put your pedal, like your foot there, and it brings out water. And it's a model that a lot of people have approved and basically everywhere in Africa, because I saw even this like a little kid that made something that it was very famous on BBC, if you guys watch that. And so we have that. And apart from that, we also have the actual one that use sensors, like use ultrasonic sensors, where whenever you bring like a presence of your hand, it brings out the soap, it brings out the water or the hand sanitizer. Because if you can look at the picture that I show here, let me try to bring that up back on the PowerPoint. So here, one second. So on this one, on this technology here, so you have 3 outlets. You have one for hand sanitizer, the other one for soap, the other one for water. But we are trying to develop more now. I think a lot of our posts are gonna be more of hand sanitizers, because it is actually proven that people are most likely gonna use the hand sanitizer better than water, because you don't need to wipe your hand after you've used hand sanitizer. So we are trying to focus more on that. And that's one of our technology that can be used basically anywhere without any use of electricity. And what we have for remote areas, some of our technologies, these are basically some of our future plans and things that we are looking into, is because a lot of, the food industry is huge in Africa, and it's something that a lot of people don't invest on. So a lot of our food is still produced traditionally. So, and to access the food, you need the villages. So some of the things that we are looking at with our engineers is how we can actually develop electrical systems for those. So wherever we are putting a plant, or wherever our clients are, a part of our package, a part of our work is to propose to the client that, hey, you're trying to produce this much stuff in this area, you're trying to get us to get the technology. We can also bring you electricity at this place. That's come with our power transmission group. It comes also with basically even our mechanical engineers. So it's something that we're exploring, and collaboration with the government and things like that. So if we already have our presence in a certain area, and our startup is a leading startup, let's say in the country, then we also have basically we have the ear from the government to be able to bring the right type of infrastructures to that region. And apart from that, also training. So our company, starting next month, we are starting training in our communities. We are open to basically educating our community about our technologies. So most of our technologies are coming out this month, and we are they're going to be available in multiple places in the city, like in Goma, and we are trying also like in Lubumbashi as well, because right now we are based in Goma and Lubumbashi, and we're soon going to be in Kinshasa. So a lot of some of our technologies are coming out this month, and we're gonna have to have educational session where we teach people how to use them and things like that. But we also wanna have basic training. So we have education program that we are developing that are gonna be accessible to basically anyone, where we educate educators. And that's the best way. So we are organizing these seminars where educators come, like from schools, from different parts of the province, and come to the city, where we develop with them and kind of educate the remote areas on the type of technology we will be developing. So the plan is big, and it's kind of like all squeezed in a few words, but like the plan is big and it's well thought of. But we also open, like we're always open for people. We have like on our website, we have like a place where you can drop all the discussions, everything that you feel like it's important, and we go through that. I personally go through them and read them, all the suggestions. Even the training program is something that somebody suggested in Eastern Congo, and as I thought of it, I was like, okay, this is interesting. Let's create something for us. So we are a community-based company, and we are open to the community from any other suggestion, any feedback from the community is something that we are open to.
Mr. Okello, you can go ahead, especially you, because you tackle the issue of education. So along with that question, my other question for you, specifically for you, will be, would education, the formal education, be a solution for those who are not formally educated?
Great. So, I mean, I think, so what we are doing, first of all, the first part of the question is, how do we really think about including those other people who might not ever have access to the technology itself, might not be in the formal school system, So what we have been doing at Manifest is really trying to answer that question, and I wish I could tell you that we have already figured it out, but we are still trying to figure this problem out, But as I speak, some of the things, one project we've already been testing out is this idea of e-learning hubs. We are so much focused on really, online education, using technology for access to education, right? But we're well aware that there are several learners across Uganda who do not have access to, an electronic device to access the internet, let alone access to the internet. So how do we ensure we can reach those kind of people? And one pilot project we have been working on is called the e-learning hub. So the Marifa Sasa e-learning hubs. And e-learning hub, let me just share my screen and show you a picture from one of what an e-learning hub looks like as I explained it. So as you can see here, an e-learning hub is basically a space that we set up in the community, equipped with computers and internet access, right? So those learners who do not have access to, a device of their own, or have difficulty getting access to the internet, can simply walk into this e-learning hub and they find all the resources that they need to basically be able to access these online learning resources, right? So that is one thing that we think we have been really iterating over the last over the last 2 years actually, and we have come to a point where we think it's we're ready to scale it, especially in those hard to reach remote areas and villages where internet connectivity is a problem. A lot of the people do not have some of the smart devices to be able to access the internet. These e-learning hubs is one of these community-based solutions that we are pursuing to scale, to ensure that we can reach out to those kind of people. And then the other challenge when it comes to our work is that of empowering the teachers to be able to leverage this technology. A lot of the teacher training that happens in Uganda, there's no technological component of that, right? So what normally happens is that if you just throw technology at a teacher whose training did not involve the technology, whose entire professional experience had very little interaction with these technological tools, those tools become redundant. They become a hindrance to teaching and learning actually, So what we're trying to do is basically to address that particular problem. We have actually now designed, a teacher training program focused on technology, right? So it's a technology training program for teachers. And I think, we shall be having, launching this actually next week, we'll be having a lot of these training sessions for teachers across Uganda to see how do we empower the teachers to be masters of these tools, right? Now, another challenge that we kind of came across as we, ventured into Marifa Sasa was the phobia for technology that teachers do have. A lot of teachers are afraid that technology is going to replace them, So for us, we have to go back to the drawing board and see, is there a different way for us to present these solutions in a way that teachers can embrace it instead of seeing it as a threat, right? And we realize that a lot of the teachers that fear the adoption of technology in their classrooms basically do not have the command to basically use those technology tools efficiently because they lack the training, right? So if you package the solution with the right training, you begin to empower these teachers and give them the confidence that they can actually use these tools to be able to effectively deliver the learning outcomes that they hope to. Now, when it comes to some of the solutions, education, there are different levels of education. And I think any education system has to answer one simple question, like what is the objective that we want to achieve with this education? What are the needs that we seek to fulfill, and what kind of education do we need to offer to fulfill those needs? So when it comes to Uganda, there are different levels of challenges, So one big problem we see, especially, for those living in the university, is that of unemployment, right? And that goes back, the kind of education that is being offered at a lot of our universities, are very, very rich in theoretical knowledge, but way much lacking in terms of the practical knowledge, right? However, when you look below the university level of education, primary education is a very basic and foundational, sort of education. So the kind of primary education one has a direct determinant on the kind of secondary school they'll end up attending in Uganda. And the kind of secondary school you end up attending determines the kind of university or the course you'll end up pursuing at the university, right? So I think for a long time, the problem has been, tackled from, the university level onwards, right? And in that case, I think for a long time, been just trying to address the symptoms and not really addressing the roots, So to address the root causes of some of the challenges we see, we have to go back to the foundation. What is wrong with the primary education that is producing, the secondary school students, that is really the university students, that produce the kind of young people who are not ready for the labor force, for the workplace, and so formal education that happens in the school is amazing, but there are a lot of young people who do not have access to that. So at Marifa Sasson, our long-term plan really is to, how do we ensure that those young people who are full of so much potential, but do not have either the financial means to attend a formal school, how do we ensure that they can still have access to this kind of education? And that is why we built Shule Sasa Academy, to extend this kind of educational opportunity to anyone out there, whether they are attending a formal school system or they are not, right? And that is just one step. The other aspect of this has to do with, formal practical training of actually employable skills and on-demand skills, right? And to that effect, we have been working in partnership with, another company out of Denmark, actually called Cotters Trust. And the focus there is to really see how do we enable these young people, equip them with practical skills and allow them to tap into the global workforce, either as freelancers, right? So they can work remotely on projects, different parts of the world from the comfort of the villages or their homes, with access to the right resources like that which we provide at e-learning hubs, for example, and that is addressing a real and practical need. So those who are not able to attend college, those who are able, perhaps dropped out of school and did not finish the formal schooling system and do not have the necessary paperwork to enter into formal employment because they did not enter into the formal education system, can now, not just let their dreams die of becoming whatever they want to be, by having access to this sort of on-demand skills training that is really, really focused on equipping them with skills that allow them to directly go and do, jobs, online as freelancers that they would otherwise not be able to because of their lack of formal education. So formal education is not exactly the solution, but we have to think about, those other people who are a majority, for example, in Uganda, who do not have access to formal education. How do we include them? And this is some of the ways that we are currently, experimenting and really testing out how we can make sure that they're scalable.
Thank you, Bob. We are approaching at the end of this meeting. We'll give a 5 minute for whoever has a question. Does someone have any question that would like to pose either on chat or intervene by asking the question directly? Okay, I guess we do not have anybody. We are approaching at the end, but before, there's a question. I work with hubs here in Texas, but we have collaboration across USA, especially here on the southern part. And we have partners in Australia and New Zealand. The perception and a few studies have posed the study to us and even to some of African, even Adam alluded to that throughout his presentation. The perception that people have is Africa, it's the boom for the next 20 to 50 years. Africa is the place for innovation, is the place for startup technological solution. Do you guys feel and see that on a daily basis, especially Morato and Bob as well, and Adam, because you guys interact with people on a personal level when it comes to providing solutions? Just feel that and see that Africa is the boom for solution when it comes to technological intervention. I'll start with Morato on that.
Yeah, I think remember that Africa used to be the boom for workforce around 500 years ago. And now the markets in the Western world are becoming saturated because of such big companies, and the average in Southern Africa, the average person, the average age is 16. So in Angola alone, you have around 15 people that are under the age of 15. So we're talking about a very, very huge market for the years to come. And that's why you see Google coming to Angola with submarine cables. You see all those companies, Jack from Twitter visiting Africa, Jack Ma coming at least twice a year. So first of all, we are at risk of becoming only spectators or customers of those big companies if we don't get our act together. One. And second, one of the causes is that we still concerned about other things. We have other priorities. People, when they wake up, they try to understand where they're gonna get water, clean water. They trying to understand how they're gonna eat. The way most of the world and most of our governments approach the informal market is as an economic situation or financial situation, but it's actually a survival issue, because people go outside in the streets to sell, to eat. They don't go outside to sell to get rich. So it means that we are being we are driving on other priorities, and we're losing focus on actually being the players for this boom, for this future boom that everybody talks about. And yes, Africa is gonna be the boom for the next 25 to 50 years. But as African young entrepreneurs, we need to do our part of the deal, which is to be at the forefront of implementing solutions that work for our people, because otherwise we're gonna be sitting on the spectators table and become customers of those giant corporations.
Yeah, I think I can jump in next if Robert is fine with that.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Yeah. So it's true. Just as Morato just said, I mean, at the personal level, for us at Morato Technology, we do see that. We do see that that growth and that need for technology. I think best, even around the time I was back home, but let's say if we go 10 or 15 years ago, not everyone was eager. Like, I didn't even have WhatsApp 10 years ago, and it was available. Everybody else was using it, but I was like, I mean, I just never. It's not something that was basically for me to be using or something like that. I just saw it's just an extra thing that people are using and stuff. However, today we have that rush toward technology. We have everyone want to access something. Well, everyone want to access technology. So for our level, we see that demand. We see the growth in the demand for making people's lives easier. And we see that because of also like globalization that's happening. Basically, we see stuff on TV and we want to access them, but we cannot afford them or stuff like that. And you see that growing need of type of technology. I saw one thing. One of the things that we also try to invest in is those heart rate monitoring bracelets. And you know, like Fitbit invest like a huge sum of the heart. But however, for us, we don't want to invest like Fitbit. We want to do something that can be like anybody wanna buy, like on the street. So it's something that people needed there. We see that growing need to that. Like a lot of people are trying to get it, but they cannot afford it. And the population is growing faster as we saw. And the youth in Africa is like the biggest part. Like we're talking about 70% of the continent is young, between 20 and 40 years old. So, and with those type of things, we interact with people on a daily basis, and we see their needs and we see their problems and we see the market there. And seeing that, it helps us develop the necessary technology to grow. And as Morato said, we don't want to be spectators. We don't want the huge companies to just come and take over the markets, while ourselves, we can become also big within our own market. Because if we understand it early, because we are the one who are living that situation, if we can understand it early and start investing or start putting, because the biggest investment that for me I've put in my company is my time. And that if we can put that time into brainstorming, into trying to solve our problems, I think there is a market open and it's already available there for us to grow.
I will jump in there. So I think, yeah, I completely agree to some extent that indeed, the future of the rest of the world is strongly tied to the future of Africa, and there's several factors to believe from an economic point of view. Africa's population is definitely an asset. Right now we're about 1.2 billion people, but estimates show that, by the middle of the century, we might be seeing about 2.5 billion Africans, right? And in many parts of the world, Europe, for example, is seeing some sort of stagnation in population growth, and in addition to that, we have a very young population. The average age in Africa is maybe about 19, so that's a very, very young continent. In Uganda, about 80 to 85% of our population is below 35, about 67% of the population is 15 years or below, and we see these trends across the continent, and that gives me a lot of hope. However, one thing I've always said, is that the extent to which, the demographic, dividend could be tapped in Africa strongly depends on the kind of investments that is made into that population, right? And again, that's why, at Manifesto, we're so passionate about what we do. Education, we believe, is one of those great investments that we can make in our people, So I think human capital development is going to be absolutely key in unleashing that demographic dividend. So that is where the great promise lies. However, on the flip side of things, I think, and I completely believe that, and I don't expect this to happen, I hope it wouldn't happen, that failure to make that right investment in this young population would also be a complete catastrophe, right? Think about a continent of this youthful population without proper education, right? Without the necessary skills to really, drive their everyday lives, without skills and means to meaningfully contribute, to society and to the growth of their countries, that would be, a ticking time bomb, So I think we are at a stage where critical decisions have to be made on the kind of investments that have to be made on our young population, because that to me is the future, and I think the right investments in education, in other, efforts of human capital development will be an imperative on this front. And failure to do that will mean that, we will have to sit back and expect the worst, and I hope none of us is willing to do that and hope to do that, We cannot afford to let things continue the way they are right now, So I believe that, yes, the future is Africa, for those reasons, but that will only be the case with the right investment in our people. And education is, I think, one of the most, it's a necessary condition, for us to unlock and unleash the full potential of that demographic dividend.
I just hope that your prediction doesn't come true and they really wake up when it comes to investing. Guys, we are closing. We have 5 minutes. Okay, to close this, I would like to hear from you guys 1.5 to 2 minutes from each one of you guys. The question is, what should entrepreneurs, especially those listening to you guys and watching this, Morato from Angola, Robert from Uganda, Adam from Congo, and across the continent, when it comes to building sustainable solution, we using technology, what should entrepreneurs take into consideration in building those solutions? Now we see the entrepreneurship rising, ideas and the concept rising in Africa, which is good. However, the lack of mentorship, the lack of guidance, especially the one that Morato alluded to, there's no models. What should entrepreneurs coming up, building up solution, keep in mind in building solutions that are sustainable or deemed to be sustainable for the African continent? since Rob was the last one to speak and Morato was the first one, let's switch. Who was the first one to start?
I can go first.
Okay.
Or yeah.
Adam, 1.5 to 2 minutes to summarize.
I'm probably gonna be very short because I have a straight answer, and it's something that I actually wished I knew before. And if I knew that, I could have saved myself so much time. So it's true that we are all Africans. It's true that we all live in Africa. We face pretty much the same problems. One of the biggest things we face, I think Morato put it, like there is no any institutionalized government way to get patents or to get any type of that stuff. What I would bring up is something like there is no way in Congo to get statistics. We don't even know how many Congolese are there to begin with. So we don't know. We only have estimated numbers and stuff like that. So one of the things that I would tell the entrepreneurs that are watching is that don't focus first on product, focus on the market. Know your market, know who you are selling your product to. That is very important in this. If there's some product that I started with and we stopped along the way because we couldn't see profits in doing such a thing, because it's something I imagined, me being in the US, I imagined that, oh, that something can be great for our continent. However, on the ground, it's not something that was right. So first of all, start your customer discovery, do your own research, because there are no statistics that you can Google or you can find by the government. So send people on the ground, send statisticians out there, get the data, and once you have the data, then design your minimum value product with respect to actually what people told you to make. Don't make something just for by yourself.
Okay. My answer is it's very straightforward. When you're developing your idea, when you're going into design phase, forget about technology and focus on people. Because as we all mentioned and we all agree, Africa have a very young population, and we mostly share the same problem. So if you go into a sustainable model for your business, don't design for 2022, don't design for 2023, design for 2030. By the time you get to 2030, your product is more than validated by the market. You have all the data that you need, and then you will have a very, very big population to scale your business for the long run. And stop looking for unicorns. Unicorns doesn't exist. Look for camels. They consume very low resources and they walk very, very long distances. So that's my advice for the entrepreneurs.
I think I'll be very brief as well, and building what Morato has just said, building for the future. I strongly believe that entrepreneurship is a marathon. This is not an 100-meter sprint, where you run and you get the victory lap and you have your gold medal. It's going to take work. It's going to take time, but we have to persist. But we have to be solving real problems, right? First by real people, So focus on solving actual problems that people face on a daily basis, But let's think long term, I always tell myself, that I don't want to be working on a solution that I want to see, that I believe, we're going to solve in the next 2 or 3 years, right? If that's the case, then maybe we are not dreaming big enough, So let's think long term, Is there a problem that is currently being faced in your country, in the society, that there's no direct answer, and the answer, the solution might not be in your lifetime, Those are the kind of problems that excite me, So when I think of the education problem, this is a problem that has been here for a very long time, and we don't have all the answers. We're just trying to play our role, and trying to piece the puzzles together, So focus on long-term thinking, and really, when you begin to call yourself an entrepreneur, be prepared to run the long distance. Be prepared for a marathon, because this it's not a sprint, So you do not practice for a marathon the way you practice for a 100-meter or a 400-meter, sprint, right? So the mindset required for a marathon is very different, And this is the kind of mindsets that entrepreneurs need to have: the marathon mindset, the long distance, thinking, a long-term thinking mindset. And I think that way we will be in a better position to see success at some point in time. Because the truth of the matter is that the failure rate is extremely high, only 1 in 9 entrepreneurs might succeed, but having that long distance, know that I'm going to fail, and do not be afraid of failing, Failing is a normal thing in the world of the entrepreneur, You fail, you learn from that, you see what can you do different, and you hit the road running again, So that is all I can say, but think long-term, be a marathoner, and then you might have a chance of succeeding at this thing we're calling entrepreneurship.
Thank you so much for the three of you guys. I know right now in Angola, in Congo, in DRC, it's already late. It's just 4:48 p.m. here in Texas. Thank you so much for all who participated, all who asked the question. Lunta Dila had to step out because he had something to take care. Thank you so much, Lunta Dila. If you'll be watching this on YouTube. Thank you so much individually. I'll say your names. Morato Custodio. He works with Bantu Makers. Thank you so much for the insight and sharing ideas with us. Adam with Bora Technology. Thank you so much for your time. I know that the work that you guys are doing in Congo, in Goma specifically, it's changing the perspective of how engineering and especially health system is being taken care of. Bob, education is the key. I was able to actually see the passion that you have, changing the narrative that we have about education in Africa and in Uganda specifically will change all the issues that we have. This is the chance that we have. The generation is young. We have a chance to create an impact, but impact doesn't come as a unicorn. I love what Morato coined today. He coined, instead of looking for unicorns, please go find and look for camels, and you can find them in Africa easily if you go to Sahara and Algeria and Morocco. You can find them easily. Unicorn, it's impossible. I haven't seen one. Thank you for the ideas. Thank you for the hub, Texas Tech. Those who are entrepreneur at the hub, they'll have access to that. The reason we created this platform is to give a chance to those who are coming up with a solution to contextualize. And I love this idea. I'm gonna read it. It's right here. I wrote down. I'm gonna share that with the guys. That's Morato's ideas. Contextualize identity. It's new. I don't know if I'll find data.
Contextual identity.
Contextual identity. I don't know if I'll find papers in regards to that, but it's nice, because if you do not contextualize your ideas, they'll not be used. If they will not be used, as a result, even if you go for a business perspective, you'll not make money for that. But at the end of the day, we are craving.
That's my point. I didn't say anything. I have participated in this platform. My name is Jack. I'm from the Democratic Republic of Congo. I was invited to this platform by Adam. The founder of Vijana Africa, a community-based organization, which is based in Malawi, where we implement our actions. Currently based in Canada. You guys have brilliant ideas. I'm really impressed. And if we implement all these ideas, we're gonna fight unemployment in Africa. When we fight unemployment, for sure we'll be fighting poverty. So kudos to you guys. Please keep this work high, work smart, and make sure you implement the ideas. I know it won't be easy. Our government, they don't usually support startup companies, but start with what you have, go with who you have, who will be convinced with your ideas. I hope that, and I believe that we can bring change in Africa through ideas like this. You are young people, you can inspire.
Jack just went on mute.
Jax, yes, you just went on mute.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's good.
It won't take long.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
That's good.
Am I there?
Yeah.
Yes,
We'll
yes.
keep you now.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. I was saying, being here, I feel like I had the same experience in 2018. I participated to the 2018 Mandela Washington Fellowship. I think you are aware of this program. I met with smart leaders, young people with brilliant ideas. If we just work and implement the ideas that we have, Africa gonna change. Africa will be like what we see today in Europe, what we see today in America, and young people will not have ideas to go abroad. We have smart leaders, but they all have this mind to go to find job opportunities in Europe, job opportunities in America. Why? Just because we don't have these opportunities at home. If we have these opportunities at home, and if we use our mineral resources, I think the change will happen, and what for Africa is gonna be implemented. Thank you so much for organizing this. Guys, keep on working smart.
Thank you, Jack. You will have the chance. Morato, Bob, and Adam, they're open to network with you guys. The best part of what I love about these three, it's not just an idea, it's something that is taking place right now. So it's great to have an idea, but you can attest by networking with them that it's their project they're working on, they're implementing and creating solution to Africa. And it's great that we have to keep with the narrative of bringing solution, because at the end of the day, those who have political power, they're there for their gain. So we have to look out for the next generation. Thank you so much for that. We did not have that many people to create a breakout room. We just had 2 people, but they want to create a follow-up with Morato. Morato, I'll make available, if you allow me, your contacts through LinkedIn, if you're okay with that, so that they can follow up. Adam, Bob, are you guys open for me to share the contact with everybody?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely, yeah.
Okay. We have 2 people. They would love to connect with you guys, as well as long with that. When this COVID ends, we would love to have you guys through Zoom, through conference, so that you guys can share specifically with the hub, a conference that we organize every year. That's the Ideas Fair, so that you guys can, on a personal level, exchange and interact with Africans based here in Texas and Oklahoma. Thank you so much for your time. The event is now done. It's free for you guys to interact and connect, but you can be dismissed if you want. I know that you guys have things to do. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much. It was great meeting each one of you. So I think I'm gonna have to leave because I have an appointment like in 4 minutes. So, but it was great to be here, and thanks so much for everyone who watched us. And I hope you learned something from us. And we are always open. I'm always open and available. We're on social media. I'm gonna send the slide to Armando, and he can share our social media, but it's just basically Bora Technology. So in all the platforms, all social media platforms, we are not on LinkedIn yet, but Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, Bora Technology, you can find us there, and you can contact us, and we'll be able to reply, or we are accessible through that. All right, thank you so much, guys. And I hope we can keep in touch, Robert and Morato. I hope we can share contacts. I'm probably gonna get your contacts from Armando.
Yeah.
And we can keep in touch as we can organize more things together, and probably meet or organize something big in Africa together eventually. Yeah. All right. I'll see you later.
Thank you. It's right now almost 7 a.m. in Australia. A partner of us from Wakanda Hub, he texted me saying that he would love to work with you guys. So as you can see, it's not just Africa. A lot of people trying to take a piece, take a chunk of what is about to happen in Africa. So I'm glad that you guys were okay with me sharing your contact. So
please do.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Morato, you were saying, go ahead. Sorry to cut you.
No. I was saying that, okay, first of all, please share my my email address and my LinkedIn account you can share on the YouTube video, because I think the video will stay there for a while.
Yeah.
And you can share directly with everyone that joined us today that have any any intention to get in touch with me. You know me. I like to talk, and we didn't have enough time. I didn't speak 5% of what I usually talk. Yeah. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure to meet Rob and Adam and Luntadila. And it was a pleasure to share the room with you guys. It's almost 11 here, and I gotta go. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rest and be safe, please. COVID is still out there.
Yeah, I know. Thank you very much. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye, Morato. Yeah, great. I think I'll go ahead and say the same. Please feel free to share my contacts. I'd love to stay in touch with a lot of the people here, and I'm hoping to really engaging with a lot of other people. And it's been a true pleasure. And thank you so much for everybody that joined us. I see, Louis from Australia, and she joined us at 5 a.m. in the morning. So thank you all, and all of you for just taking time out of your busy day to be with us. It's been great, and I would definitely love to keep in touch and continue engaging with you further beyond this course. So thank you so much, and thank you, Mandy, for making this happen. We really appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you for your time, sir. I know that with COVID, it seems like we have time, but at the end of the day, we are busy all the time. Thank you so much. Be safe out there in Oklahoma.
Absolutely.
Soon we'll get over this. Oh, we'll understand that that's normal.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll accept the new, the new normal the way it is. Yeah.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Thank you for everybody. I'll be here for 5 minutes until everybody leaves the room. Thank you so much.